Welcome to our February 3rd Board of Ed meeting. I'm going to call our meeting to order. And Lisa, would you please do the roll call? Thank you, Lisa. I have no revisions to the agenda, and I didn't get any requests for revisions to the agenda. Do we have? I'm sorry? It's a special meeting. We can't have revisions to the agenda? No. Okay. Well, it's still on here as item 3. So, any correspondence?
Just the thank you card from Mrs. Terry Camilleri and Fiona.
Oh, okay. We got a lovely thank you card from Mrs. Camilleri regarding the dedication of the CMS auditorium. Do I need to read it?
Pass it around.
Okay. I will share it. I will pass it around. That's absolutely beautiful. That was really nice. Okay. We still have to approve the agenda even though, okay. Okay. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Catherine, Ms. Lamb, thank you. All in favor?
Good.
Thank you. Shared correspondence. Are there any public comments? Okay. We'll move right along to new business. I'd like to welcome our insurance brokers from Alera Group, Greg Finn and Dave Caslin, and they're going to talk to us about our insurance renewals. And I don't know, you gentlemen, we're hoping you're going to bring us some good news.
There we go. Hi, I'm Dave. This is Greg. I don't know if how much everybody knows about where we stand, so would you like a little review of that? Coming off of, I don't know, 5 or more very, very good years where the average increase, I think, has been under 4%. The Cigna preliminary renewal came in at 52%. And that is largely being driven by the fact that the loss ratio in just simple terms is how much money is being received versus how much claims are being paid out. And when they ran the analysis, they basically have been spending $1.30 for every dollar of claims. This is not totally unique in the industry. That's a little worse than the norm, but this has been going on for a number of years. Claims have been rising. Even last year, when we go back and look at the data from last year, after we negotiated a very favorable renewal, as claims were starting to go in a bad direction, I think it ended up at 7% last year. It was a 98% loss ratio, so 98 cents on the dollar. This is just claims. Now, some of the unique characteristics, and I'm speaking about the town and the Board of Education combined. In the last 12 months, there are 73 claimants between the town and the board, that includes employees and dependents obviously, with $25,000 or more of claims. 24 of them are over $100,000. This is substantially higher than what you would normally find. And we could provide data about what Cigna or any insurance company would normally expect to see in a group of roughly this size, but it's just a fact. It is what it is. And the nature of the claims sometimes is horrific as it sounds when you have a couple just massive catastrophic claims, $1 million or $2 million, some horrific situation which might have a beginning and an end, forgetting about the personal tragedy of it, it's actually easier from an insurance standpoint often for an insurance company to deal with that, as opposed to having a huge volume of 24 people with $100,000 or more, because somebody's obviously going to come off, but someone else is going to come up on the list. So there's just a lot going on right now. If you watch TV at night, regardless of what news channel it might be, almost every commercial is some extremely expensive prescription drug. They never tell you the price on those commercials, right? But those drugs are all a relatively recent phenomenon. In the last 10 or 15 years, these specialty medications have come out, and everybody's taking them, whether it's the GLP-1s for weight loss, which are fantastic in terms of their effectiveness, but more and more of these drugs are available, more of them are covered. When I got into this business over 30 years ago, the percentage of spend that any given company was paying as a percentage of their overall cost on prescriptions was less than 10%. Now it's 30 to 40% of your overall claims are actually prescription driven. I made the comment to Greg, we met down at the Dunkin' Donuts because we were coming from different places on Shunpike. And as I was driving down the street, I've spent a lot of time in Cromwell over my many years. And I always like to see what's new, and I see Texas Roadhouse has moved, and Fuego's there. And then I see the new Hartford Healthcare Urgent Care Center. And everywhere that I go throughout the state, and I'm mostly down in Old Saybrook, Westbrook area, almost every new construction is a medical office building, an urgent care center, blood draw. And so again, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I don't work for the insurance companies, I work for you all. We represent whoever our client is. Our client is not the insurance company. Our client is the Board of Education of Cromwell, Connecticut. So I don't defend the insurance companies ever. However, what's happened though in my 30 plus years is we've gone from having about 12 insurance companies in Connecticut to 4. We've had hospitals buy each other up. Yale's gobbling up hospitals. Trinity Healthcare now owns a bunch of the hospitals. And they're banding together like unions, and they are sticking it to the insurance companies, and the prices have just gotten out of control. And while they plead poverty, all you see is new construction all over the state. And it's not just in Connecticut, it's everywhere. I'm not using this as an excuse, I'm just throwing it out there as it's a factor that people never really consider. It's always the big bad evil insurance company, but they're really held over the barrel in terms of negotiating, because you got to have Yale in your network, but in order to have Yale, you have to have Bridgeport, you have to have Lawrence Memorial, Westerly, you have to have everybody. And a number of things that are unique also in Connecticut, because we operate in many different states, most places that you go, you have insurance systems where, and this is the way it was in Connecticut, if anyone was around and had coverage 25 years ago, if you were in Bridgeport, you had Bridgeport Hospital or St. Vincent's. You had Waterbury Hospital or St. Joe's. You had Hartford Hospital or St. Francis. You had to, your insurance company had one of the hospitals, not both. But in a resounding fashion, this was rejected by the Connecticut consumer. And the consumer wanted more choice, more options. And so now every insurance company basically has almost every single doctor and almost every single hospital. And so it's become impossible to negotiate effectively and get better rates. Whereas they used to say, all right, Yale versus St. Ray's, I think Yale bought St. Ray's, if it even exists anymore. They used to be able to negotiate a better fee schedule by driving the business to one hospital over another. So all of that's gone. So here we are. This is a preliminary renewal. So every year we're asked, even though your renewal is July 1st, we're asked to come up with a preliminary renewal. And the one that Cigna came out with was, the 52%. We are in the process of doing several things, and we've already committed to coming back to your next meeting in a few weeks, I think it is, 24th, where we'll have a lot more information. But what's been going on is we've marketed, the town and the board, all of the data to the remaining insurance companies. One has already passed on the prospect of it. Couldn't even compete against a 52% rate increase based on their review of the data, just to give you a little insight. We've actually also gone back to Cigna and asked them for a board-only renewal. So if the board were carved out, would that look more favorable? That's one of the options. We've also presented some very rough estimates of the partnership plan and what that would look like. The problem with this is that we don't have any control over it at all. The partnership has not released their rates for 7/1/2026 effective date yet. We're expecting that will come out towards the end of February. I don't know if it will be out when you guys meet again, but somewhere towards the end of the month, or beginning of March, those will be available. So we've provided some estimates. Greg, why don't you speak a little bit to how those rates work on a quarterly basis?
So for folks that aren't familiar with the partnership plan, I'm guessing most folks are, it basically gives Board of Eds, towns, transit districts the opportunity to get the same medical benefits and potentially dental and vision that state employees get. To Dave's point, they come out with quarterly pricing. It's a self-insured medical plan, so based on how the claims run from a medical and a pharmacy standpoint, that's how they dictate pricing. Their big renewal is July 1st. So although the April 1st, 26 rates are out, I know that their program is experiencing similar things to what Cromwell is experiencing. So the bigger increase is most likely going to be July 1st. They were anticipating between a 12 and 15% increase from 7/1/25 to 7/1/26. But ultimately, we'll need to get those rates. That's the one thing that we can't control because they'll release it probably end of February, early March. We're going to get analysis on Cigna, all the other vendors. We're also looking into, our team has underwriters on staff, so we're doing a self-insured feasibility analysis. You're currently what they call fully insured today with the insurance carrier, so you get set rates for 12 months. The insurance carrier has all the risk. We're looking at some different options to see what might make sense given that you have a 52% number. And then the partnership piece would be the last piece where we're exploring that as well. And then the one thing I'll just add from a partnership standpoint is that would be from a plan design standpoint, the current plans that are in place today are what they call high deductible plans. And the Board of Ed is giving health savings or HSA dollars. The partnership plan is not that setup. It's basically a copay setup. So we're going back probably 15 or 20 years, like the $15 copay plans. So very strong plans. It's just a different mentality. A lot of people like the HSA dollars, and they don't have that option within the partnership plan. But given where the experience is and what the potential Cigna renewal is, we're literally looking in every direction. And once again, by your next meeting, the 24th, we'll have everything, potentially not the partnership updates, but we should be able to have a general sense of what that's looking like.
We've provided analysis or done the analysis for years now about the feasibility of the partnership versus whatever the town and the board had at a given time. It's always been a lot more expensive. Though it's not apples to apples comparison, as Greg said, in terms of the benefits, it's always been more expensive. There are some nuances with it too, because the partnership plan, obviously any change opens up collective bargaining and all those kinds of things. So no one that I'm aware of at the board or even on the town side, from an administrative standpoint, has really wanted to go in that direction, primarily because it unwinds, 2 decades worth of, I think it's been almost 20 years since we've moved into these consumer-driven plans. I did want to point out another thing, because we work with many employers of this size. And one thing that is unique is that going back, a long way, you all have bargaining agreements that come up 2-year, 3-year cycles, whatever they are. And within that, you know, a small part of it is obviously the benefits, what the benefits are going to look like. You know, are there any changes in employee contributions towards that? Whatever it is. I don't honestly remember the last time it changed. So unlike, you know, all of our other clients, where if we went back 3 years, 5 years, 1 year, or 10 years, and compared to what they have now, there is some big differences in the underlying plan. And that just helps, you know, over time in terms of, okay, you increase the copay, that helped lower a cost structure a little bit. You increase the deductible, all those kinds of things. Now, in fairness, the rates have been extremely stable. We've been able to do a very effective job, I think, in negotiating them year over year. I've been around for over 25 years. Dr. Macri, I think, is the fifth superintendent I've had the pleasure of working with, and I don't even know how many town managers there have been, but a lot, more than 5. And we've participated in union meetings. We've participated with labor attorneys in terms of making suggestions and recommendations. And I think it's been the case because it's been so stable for so many years that the idea of increasing a deductible or things like that have not really been desirable, and that makes sense. But I felt like it was at least worth pointing out that the benefits have remained exactly the same while all around us, everything else is going up. I do know there have been some little changes in contributions towards those, but it's obviously not a lot. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I will say one more thing about the partnership, which Greg shared with me the other day, which is worth noting, is that they're running at an $18 million deficit. Now, it's our state, so they can just, you know, do whatever they want. But as you probably know, entities that have gone into the partnership since it was opened up have gone in there really for one reason, is because it was less expensive. You know, the last I saw, I've been working with the city of Bridgeport for almost 30 years. They were one of the last ones to jump in. Huge, but they saved, you know, 10 or 15 million dollars by moving into that. So it's kind of become, I hate to use the word dumping ground, but it's become the place where entities, qualified entities, go when their underlying plan is no longer competitive. And so that's obviously, you're starting to see an increase, a bigger increase year over year to that program than we saw early on.
Okay.
Take questions.
I'm going to open it up to questions, but I'm going to ask that we do questions in 10 minutes or less so that we can get to the rest of our budget meeting and get home before midnight. Mrs. Cantwell, and then Matt, I saw you too.
Yes, so the numbers that you gave over the last 12 months with the 73 with 25,000 or more and the 24 over 100,000, was that strictly for Board of Ed or was that for the whole town?
The town and the board combined.
Combined?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Zabrowski?
Mine's actually for Michelle. When they talk about the partnership plan, do our current contracts allow for that? Because I know in our contracts there's language that say we have to have, if we're going to switch plans, it has to be a comparable plan. Would that even be permissible given our current contracts?
I think we would have to go, it would be a reopener. So
we'd have to open up contracts, and if
Yeah.
we open up a contract, we open up the whole thing. You can't just open it up for one piece.
it depends.
Okay.
So it depends. I mean, we could sit with the unions and say, you know, we're coming together due to the insurance and see what happens. But yes, you're absolutely
They would
correct.
have to agree to open up just to speak about that piece.
Exactly.
So the unions, if we say we want to open up, could say,
They could say no.
we'd prefer not to.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just so you know, based on where things sit today, there probably wouldn't be a lot of pushback from the employees, because it would probably be the difference between a 52% increase or a 25 or 26% increase. So it's substantial, and it would check all the boxes for substantially equal or better in terms of networks and benefits and things like that.
Ms. Matty?
Is this an anomaly this year? You said 24 of 25 people had claims of over $100,000. Now, is that an anomaly just for 24, 25? In the past, has it been amazingly less?
The number of shock claimants has been somewhat consistent over the last 2 years in terms of the ones at the top. The number of them, the 73 or the roughly 50 that are not $100,000 is the growing population. And that's where you see very often, that could be one prescription drug, that's driving that. There are some amazing drugs that have come out for MS and various different things, which are the difference between someone being disabled at home or going in and fully functioning. But it's $5,000 a month or $6,000 a month. If they're just, there are drugs that are $20,000, $30,000 a month. So that's where we see the largest. So I'm not going to say that the 24 was 10 last year. We can get you the actual number, but I think it was pretty close by the end of the year. But it's the volume of all of the other claimants.
In total.
So I think along the same lines, it would be helpful if you can provide us a trend analysis so that we can truly understand what the utilization has been.
Sure.
And where there have been upticks and what we've been able to do to try to mitigate some of that. And I just want to ask for next meeting, just to clarify what you're going to come back to us with. You're going to get quotes from multiple additional insurance companies. I understand the partnership may not be available for Board of Ed, separate from the town, for the town separate, because I'm sure they're going to ask for that information as well. And then if we went in as a combined entity.
Yeah, we are. We will have any option from the marketplace by the next meeting. You're right in that the partnership is, if it's available, we'll have that information, but that part's out of our control. We are looking at proposals that would be Board of Ed only. That's largely driven by the fact that the town is more likely, there's actually push on the town union side, even before this renewal came out, for them to strongly consider the partnership. So some of the unions have been outspoken about that before we even knew about this large increase. So it's more likely that if it's more cost effective for them, or even if it's a wash, they're more likely to move over.
But you only know the rates for that quarter, so you can't really plan for the entire year if you have a quarter of a rate, and it could jump up exponentially the next quarter.
no.
Is what
So it's locked in for 12 months. So they come out quarterly.
I'm sorry. Can you use?
Yeah. You could join the partnership monthly or even quarterly. So they republish rates quarterly to deal with groups that are hopping in off cycle. Their big renewal is July 1st, which lines up with your renewal. So that's when they make their big increases. But they give trend increases kind of throughout each quarter. And then the big increase is July 1st.
And I
Thank you.
wasn't
That's helpful.
suggesting that they would be moving before July 1st. All I was trying to say is that in all of the conversations that I've at least been privy to, nothing has come forwarded to me of an interest in the partnership. I actually brought it up because of this horrific renewal. Whereas on the town, I've participated in 3 or 4 meetings with the unions and the town administration, because the unions wanted meetings to learn about the plan, find out about what the rates would have looked like had they gone in last July 1st, what they're trending towards in case it's of interest for July 1st. And all of that occurred before this renewal even became available. So they're a little further down the road is all I was suggesting. So we wanted to have an option, particularly if the board-only experience is potentially a little better, which we have reason to believe that it might be, what a carve-out would look like.
Have you looked at just so that we can start planning and thinking, have you looked at the data to see if the high utilization, if there actually will be some benefit, if the high utilization is not on the Board of Ed side and it's more on the town side, if we think that that actually will play out in a way that will come back to help us? And then second question, Cigna, are you going back to Cigna as well to see if they'll give us a separate, to give us
Oh, yeah.
additional? Okay.
We've
God
gotten
bless.
the data broken out from Cigna for claims. We already did that. We needed that in order to have any other carrier look at it and come up with something independently. So whatever options that exist, we will have for our next meeting, other than potentially partnership. But even at the partnership meeting, we can provide, what we've informally given in terms of an estimate. And we were kind of assuming, well, what if the 7/1 of 2025 rates went up 15%? What would it look like? What would it look like for a board cost? What would it look like for an employee contribution? Because it's not the same. One other nuance with the partnership, which is always a kind of a floating thing, is that they have a price for an active employee, a price for a retiree under 65, and a price for a retiree over 65 who's not on Medicare, which you still have one or two or three. Those rates are, astronomical, what they charge. And my understanding is that they would have to be blended in, at least among teachers and administrators, because you couldn't turn around and charge one person $5,000 a month by charter. So it's not, we do have to do some math in terms of trying to figure it out. And but many years ago, there were 25. And then I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, we came up with an idea collectively to do an early retirement, an offer, and we offered folks, you guys offered folks some money, but they had to come off the plan. And that began a process of dropping down, which was an absolute disaster of claims in this pocket of 25 retirees down to now just a handful. One of whom has been there for as long as I've been coming around, and who's a very sweet lady. But any other questions I can answer for you?
Dr. Macri?
I'm very sorry, and we just haven't had a chance to connect. So, Dave, you said that a company already denied us. Are you able to tell us who that was?
Yeah, Aetna came up with a 73% increase or 72%, and so they,
And was that the board alone or the board and
that
town
was a combined, yeah, it was
Did you
combined.
ask them for just the board assessment yet?
We did, and they declined.
Declined. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mrs. Russ?
Sorry. So a couple of questions. How many companies do we have that are in the running in addition to Cigna? Obviously, we know now it's not Aetna. And number one. And number two, if we opt into the partnership, because the rates are locked in as of, they'll tell us the rates April 1st for what it'll be on July 1st?
They should tell us by early March
Okay.
what the rates will be for July 1st.
Okay. So, we have the ones for, okay. So, if we opt into the partnership, can we do it for 1 year and then reevaluate, or are you locked in?
So they have penalties for groups that come in and leave after year 1 is a higher penalty. Year 2 is a little less of a penalty. And then if you've been there 3 years, you can leave with no penalty. So you can come out after the first 12 months, but they basically have a formula where they penalize groups. They don't want groups jumping in for a year, getting good experience, and then jumping out to the traditional market. And from your question earlier on the July 1st pricing, although they come out quarterly with it, if you come in July 1st, that's locked in for 12 months. So they would have quarterly increases for groups that were coming into the partnership on 10/1 or 1/1, but for groups that come in on July 1st, you would have rates, and then they would get increased again July 1st, 2027.
And how many companies do we have?
Oh, the outstanding ones would be United Healthcare and Anthem Blue Cross.
Okay.
That's all we're down to in in Connecticut now, really. That
Yeah,
are
that's what I
national in
thought. I
scope.
just wanted to confirm I wasn't missing any.
Yeah.
Does the partnership, I'm sorry, can I ask one more question? Does the partnership allow you, is there like a cap on how much they can increase year to year once you're in it? Or can they do whatever the heck they want?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and as far as I know, they're going to base it off of how that experience pool is running. And we've seen that, if anyone said 5 or 6 years ago that the costs might be going up 15% year over year, no one would have ever believed it because it was very, very modest increases. But as I said earlier, it started in Fairfield County with places like Greenwich, jumping into this with open arms, with 130, 40% loss ratios, and saving millions and millions of dollars. And if you just think about it logically, you're not going to go into this environment unless there's some financial benefit for doing so, because you don't want to have to endure those penalties if you don't like it or something changes. One thing is that it's even out to bid right now. We don't even know who the carrier is going to be. It was supposed to be announced this week, but it may not end up being, Anthem, right? It could end up being Cigna. It could end up being United. So we should hopefully know even that when we meet again, but, you might hear that in advance.
Well, thank you so much. We hope you'll come back with some good news for us in a couple of weeks. And
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. On that cheery note, do you have a question, Ms. Maddie?
I didn't quite catch it, and I'm new to this. Their company is Alira?
Alera Group. So they're our insurance brokers. So
Okay.
they market our business to the insurance companies and negotiate rates on our behalf.
Okay, so I just want to share this. Of course, I am part of the Teachers Retirement Board, and I have teachers' retirement, and as of, frankly, the end of last year, I thought it was the greatest thing that you can imagine. Of course, I'm on Medicare. Oh, thank you. I'm on Medicare, but I also have the supplemental. I don't know if this is a help to know. I'm also on the supplemental as of December 31st. It was United Healthcare. It was excellent. It was excellent in terms of payments and so forth. Now, once that was over, Connecticut Teachers Retirement Board renegotiated. And by law, they have to find an insurance company that will give them comparable to what it is that they are leaving. And I was hoping that they wouldn't change because United Healthcare, I didn't want to leave Aetna before, not Aetna. No, it was Anthem Blue Cross. But they turned out to be even better than Anthem Blue Cross for me. And it's all different depending upon your medications, that kind of thing. However, they left United Healthcare because United Healthcare could not meet our needs the way it had, and they went with Aetna. And of all the places that I've been insured over a lot of years, Aetna was never one of them. So I was shocked to hear that Aetna would not insure us. I mean, we don't go with the state employees. We are separate from the state employees. People have asked, why wouldn't it be more beneficial? No, it wouldn't. I think we have very talented people who are negotiating this, but I don't understand. I don't know if that's a help to know, but now I am being insured by Aetna. So.
No, that is helpful, and I think we've got to leave no stone unturned, which is why, unfortunately, there's not a lot of stones to flip over, as Mrs. Russ pointed out. Just so everybody knows, the other unique thing this year is we have always done our insurance procurement in combination with the town employees, and this year it was pointed out to us that that's not necessarily a requirement, and so whatever's the best we can get for the taxpayers in the community, it's all the same. But if we can get a little bit favorable rate by looking at it in different ways, That's why we've asked them to do that. So I guess we will just have to, do you have a question, Mr. Sabowski?
Well, I'm just thinking, do we have an open line of communication with the folks on the town side? About, only because if we get a favorable rate for the the Board of Education employees, and that causes the town employees to skyrocket, it still ends up being either a wash or potentially hurting the taxpayer. So
So Alera Group represents both
Okay.
the Board of Ed and the town and has always bid the two together. But this is a strategy to say maybe we can do a little bit better on one. If we do a little better here and we can do a little better there, or they're very interested in the partnership and we decide that that's not the way that we want to go and we can get more favorable rates. We just want them to look at it in every way possible so that we have as many options as we can to make some decisions about what's best for our employees and what we can afford in our budget.
thanks.
Okay. I'm going to move us on because we have a big packet of questions and answers from Mr. Butwell. So I'm going to move us on to our proposed education budget, superintendent's proposed education budget for 26-27. And everybody should have in front of them packet with a whole list of questions. I think Mr. Butwell got, 60 questions, 70 questions?
More if you come follow up. There's about 100.
Quite
I'm
a
not
few.
Sure, there was a lot.
A lot of questions.
Some of them
so
were multiple parters. So
we very
I
much
lost-
appreciate
I
the
lost
time
count.
and we appreciate the time and the effort you put into responding to all of our questions. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that everybody put into asking some really great questions so that we can fully understand what's being proposed in the budget and make some decisions. So I will pass it over to Mr. Butwell.
Sure. And, definitely was a team effort in terms of answering all these questions. So I appreciate the support of the entire administrative team. So the way all the questions, we've reorganized the questions. Steve, do I just scroll down here? The arrow will take me to the next. Perfect. Thank you. We took all the questions that you submitted, and in order to be efficient with our time tonight, we reorganized them by object within the budget so that we can kind of group them together and answer them together. So we're going to start with certified personnel. There was two questions here. The first was just asking about the outdoor track assistant and also another all-school production assistant. And there was an MOU for the track assistant due to the high number of athletes in that outdoor track program. And similarly, the all-school productions have increased in size and scope, and so having another person for those would be beneficial. And I can have Mr. Cockle come up if there's any further discussion on that. And then the second question was about
MOU is Memo of Understanding or
Oh,
an
I
MOA.
apologize.
So we draft that after. It's on the outside of the contract. It's something that's negotiated after.
Okay, and the second question was just about the new math positions, the K2 math specialist and the 612 secondary math. Someone asked for an outline of the salary and related benefits, which you can see in the answer. The salary for both positions, for each position, I should say, is 82,882 on the teacher's salary scale. The benefits, you'll see three numbers. Those are for single coverage, two-person coverage, or family coverage in that order. Medicare cost, dental costs, again, single, two-person, family. So the total cost for each of these positions could range from $84,084 if there were no benefits, up to $120,689 if that person took family benefits. And then I'll just have Dr. McLean speak about the positions and their percentage of time working with students.
So it's hard to say a percentage of time for each of the positions. They're two very different positions. So the K through 2 math specialist will work directly with students, meaning that they have a caseload of students that they're working with that are in intervention, that they're keeping their progress monitoring, they're tracking progress. And then in addition to that, they're pushing into classrooms and providing support to those students in the classroom and or overseeing the other tutors that are in the intervention program. So it's hard to say. It depends on the students and the needs of the students and what their intervention plan looks like. This is a much more direct in front of the student position. The 6 through 12 secondary math coach, which I would argue is the more important position, to be honest, is not assigned a group of students to work with. This position works directly with teachers to help to train teachers to improve their craft with the students. So research tells us that the number one thing that impacts student achievement is the quality of the teacher. And so when we provide these coaches for our teachers, we're allowing them to push into the classroom to work directly side by side. So do they work with students? Yes. But are they assigned a student caseload? Not necessarily. They push in, they pull small groups, they model lessons, they work directly side by side with teachers. They also, like in our coaching cycle, what it looks like is a coach would plan with the teacher, the coach would go into the class, observe the class, there would be a post conversation, the teacher would decide, okay, this is something that I want to work on. The coach would help them and give them strategies and provide them resources so that they could work on whatever it is that they're working with. This generally aligns to one of our district goals and or their own teacher goals, which also align to our district goals in a more general way. But so yeah.
This is the hard part for everyone. So we live in a world of data, right? So the coaches are the ones that have their hands on all of the data. So even though they're going into the classrooms and they're pushing in, they're working with the students, they know every student by name and how every student is performing. So they know how the teacher's class is performing, and they're looking at the data of the students, and they're providing supports to that teacher based on the data. No one's looking at that data more closely than the coaches who are working with the teachers.
They're also assessing those kids
Right,
sometimes.
and they're
So
assessing them as
they pull kids to assess them. Your coaches are your expert teachers. They're the ones that, I mean, the coaches are, you know, I came in and spoke about what they do. They do a little bit of just about everything. And they're an essential way to get the things that, you know, I can attend PD, I can do all of these things, but to get it out to the staff requires that there are people out there that are going to get into the classroom. The fact that they are not administrators is key to this whole process because there is nothing evaluative about it. They come in, they are colleagues, they work together, unless, you know, something happens and we say we are requiring that you work with a coach, which does happen sometimes, but not often. And so it makes the relationship much more open to learning and to building capacity within the classroom. So are they actually teaching kids? No, most of the time. They're teaching teachers to teach kids in whatever strategies.
Dr.
They're
McLean,
looking
I just want to take a couple questions because this is
Yeah.
the first section of about 30.
million, yeah.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want
It's
to
okay.
I think we'll do questions by section so that we can get people's questions answered as we're going, but also just I'll ask everybody to be mindful of how much we have to get through tonight. Mrs. Rush, do you have a question?
Yes. So, so you made a comment. It's not required for a teacher to work with a coach.
No, sometimes they're all required to go through coaching cycles. They're all required, but sometimes.
But if we put this coach in, are the teachers required to work with them?
Yes, yes,
Number one.
but sometimes we say, like if we put a teacher on a plan, for example, we will say you are going to be required to work with the coach weekly on this particular skill so that you can get support for this particular thing. All teachers, and they know, teachers know
Okay.
this, they're required to do coaching cycles.
Here's my second question. It should be quick. Do the coaches just work with kids or on issues that need to get students up to grade level, or do they work on kids?
They're in every single classroom in every single subject. So they work with AP teachers. They work with, our content teachers that are teaching at the highest levels and at the lowest levels. They work with every single teacher in the district.
Mrs. Cantwell?
Mine's for Mr. Butwell. I was just thought of a quick question when you were talking about the breakdown for the benefits for the salary. Do we ever, as a district, offer incentive like an opt-out for if an employee doesn't take our insurance? Is there I was just thinking about that.
That's a great question.
ever-
We do not have that option within our contracts for opting out.
Is that something that we might want to think about in this whole process? Because I know other places do that.
We just looked at this last week when we were talking about the budget presentation to the finance committee, and what I think you all determined was that it didn't financially help us because we would then have to pay that opt-out money to everybody that currently doesn't take the health insurance, and that would be significant.
So right now, we have about 300 employees that take the plan. We have about 100 that do not. So then we would have to pay, if people opted out, we would have to pay that 100 that opted out as well, not just the people that newly opted out.
Okay.
So if we give you a benefit of, I don't know, $5,000 to not take the plan, we would then have to give it to that 100 plus the additional who opts out. So it actually isn't really beneficial.
I'm just wondering over time if studies ever been done on that. Over time, I mean, if you have one huge claim come in for a person of over 100,000,
The problem is
I know
can't-
that
you
you
know,
don't have
we
a
can't
crystal
pick.
ball.
We don't know.
Right. I know. I was just that popped into my head. So
It's
Thank
such
you.
a good question,
Great
and we
question.
did just talk about this last week because we were trying to figure out any other way to try to address the health insurance. So great question. Thank you for asking that. Anybody else on this page? Okay, we will turn it
Okay.
back to you, Mr. Butler.
Yep, non-certified personnel. Big questions here, just about some more information about the BCBA, which is the Board Certified Behavior Analyst, and the Registered Behavior Technician, RBT. Those job descriptions are attached at the very back of your packet. If you didn't notice, they're stapled on there, so if you want to take a quick look at that. And we have Mrs. O'Leary here and Mrs. DeMoro as well, who can talk about the differences between those positions. And then while you're maybe looking at the job description briefly, I'll just note that below is just the breakout for those salaries, et cetera, for those two positions. So base salary 36,115, and then all of the benefits. Total cost could be between 38,878 if no benefits are taken, up to 75,801 with family benefits. And then Mrs. O'Leary, I don't know if you want to start with just talking about how often those people might work with students, and then there's quite a list of questions in question one, so I'm not sure how you want to tackle that, but.
I guess I can answer. I know one of the questions was about the RBT and the percentage of time. Well, that's question 2, but the percentage of time, I guess, all BCBAs and RBTs work with students, and I would say it's 100% of the time, because whether they're training staff, working directly with students, modeling for staff, conducting a functional behavioral assessment, you're always working with students. If you're sitting in a meeting, that's directly working towards a student's, benefit. So I would say they're always working with students in different capacities. The main difference, I would say, between, and the job descriptions are there for you to look through, the BCBA and the RBT, is that the RBT works directly under the BCBA. I know we kind of discussed this at the last meeting, and they're really kind of like their right-hand man in helping collect data, helping train paraprofessionals, helping, develop behavior plans for students, ensuring that they're being followed by the staff. So we need it. We need both positions at ECS and WIS, especially with the increasing student behaviors. And if we want to keep kids in district, that's our main goal. So, questions?
So I think it's important to just remember, when we say 100% of the time, every teacher gets a prep.
Okay,
So
yeah.
BCBAs would also get a prep. But you're prepping to prepare for the students, but
Yeah.
that's what we mean. If you would ask us if, does a teacher work 100% of the time with students, we would say yes. But
Right.
just remember, every teacher gets prep time every day, and the BCBA would be the same.
Yeah.
I guess that's the confusion I'm having, is some of it is data entry time, some of it is training, some of it, I think the question is saying face-to-face time with students. How much of a percent, I think that's what this
And
question.
I don't know if I can actually answer that with an actual percentage, and I'll tell you why. It depends on the student need, and in RBT we don't have yet, right? the goal is to have that RBT work with the students almost all of the time, with the exception of, right, meetings, data collection. But even when you are working with a para, you're modeling for them, you're working with the students side by side. 80%, 90%, I know. That's why it's like silly to have it's hard. But I would say it's always working towards the benefit of the student, whether it is, right, during prep or, if not, directly with them.
Catherine, I just want to clarify my answer to you before. The coaches work 100, like they're required to meet with teachers that are in their content area. So like they're like, so, you know, like I have a technology instructional coach that works with all the other departments, but reading, math, social studies, and science are the departments that I'm talking about.
Any other questions, follow-up questions on this page? Okay, Mrs. Lamb, and I think Mr. Heisman.
Is there, you mentioned this is about keeping kids in district.
Yeah.
Is there a reduction in tuition that you would expect as a result of having these positions in place?
Certainly. I would say we've already, again, I don't have an apples to apples comparison, but we already have a reduction in tuition, especially at ECS and WIS, with our specialized programs that we've been trying to build. And we added a full-time BCBA this year at ECS, and I definitely think that's helping keep students in these programs, and they require a lot of support. But I can say with certainty we've definitely had a reduction in tuition for that pocket of students, and that's great.
Okay. And did the tuition budget come down, the plan come down this year when we put these positions in? So did we account for that?
So again, it's not apples to apples because I'm looking at a specific group of students, but there might be another group, let's say at the middle high,
Okay.
that we needed to spend money on tuition for. So it's a hard apples to apples comparison to say it
Okay.
actually came down. But I would say, I believe we're keeping more students in at the elementary levels due to the increase in support that we're giving the students.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just shared this report with Dr. Macri that was done by the Bergen Commission, which is the State Commission on Special Education, and it's just showing this steep increase statewide of needs of special ed students. So it's very difficult, I imagine, for you to be able to say, we've kept more kids in district, the dollars are going down, but if you're keeping them from growing, that's a win. So that's I think a challenging question to try to tackle because you really don't know what it would mean for our particular district. But I do think some of those I can share it with anybody else that wants to see it. But some of those trends are just shocking to me to see.
I would say our outplacement numbers, and I won't give you the actual number just for confidentiality, but it doesn't grow. It pretty much every year, because we have students that graduate or come back to district. Since I've been here, it always has stayed the same, give or take. So that's, I guess, maybe a good thing. It means we're doing what we need for the kids. So yeah.
Mr. Heisman.
Yeah, I don't have a question or a comment. I think this is a great step in the right direction, and I fully support it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I think we're back to you, Mr. Bella.
Okay, two more questions about non-certified. Question 3 was just, again, asking for the breakout for the custodian, half custodian, half grounds position. So again, in the notes, you can see the salary, the breakout of the benefits, and then total costs somewhere between $58,689 with no benefits and $95,792 with family benefits. Question 4 was just a quick detail question. This was about the in the non-certified salary roster at the beginning of your binders. There was just some coding near in the column near the paras, and somebody was wondering what that coding meant. So it's just codes about higher pay rates and hiring rates for our payroll department.
Thank you. We good to move on to employee benefits? Okay.
Great.
Bless you.
Okay, employee benefits. So question 1, this is about retirement incentives. There is in the teacher contract an incentive that in the amount of $2,000 for any teacher with 25 years of Connecticut experience who gives notice by January 15th of that work year that they're going to be retiring. That's the incentive. And I believe we have usually $10,000 in the budget for that, to fulfill that incentive. And then question 2 was about the 25% calculated increase for insurance, but in the budget itself only indicated a 20.24 increase. And so the answer to that question is that both numbers are correct. This year, because we anticipated such difficulty grabbing an insurance number, Lori from payroll and I, we went and really looked through each employee, what kind of coverage they were taking, and then we calculated the 25%. We put in some flexibility for new employees who might come in or who might change lanes, meaning, you know, going from a single coverage to a double coverage or to a family coverage. And so when we went through all that and calculated our 25% increase, it was only 20.24% more than last year's budget. So we did correctly calculate the 25% increase. When you compare it to the 25-26 budget, it was about 20% higher.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We get to move on to the next section, which is instructional program improvement.
Okay. Question 1 was just question about the total for in the executive summary. Was it correct? And the answer is yes, it was correct. There was a formatting issue in last year's budget. This is in the curriculum and instruction portion of the budget last year. Curriculum and instruction is broken into a few sections, just like every other part of the budget. So there's 322, which is services, 330, which is basically like PD, 540, and 690. All those amounts were somehow allotted to the 322 line, and so it doesn't change the total amount of the budget from last year, but they were all allotted to the same line. So we have made the corrections, but the for this year, but the total amount is correct as listed in the executive summary. And then question number 2, does the curriculum develop include any new programs for our student services? And the answer is no, it does not.
Any
Okay.
questions?
Yep.
Oh, Mrs. Russ, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Sarah, you had presented last meeting about new items that you wanted for curriculum and instruction. Where are those in the budget?
I'm trying to think what I presented new items for curriculum. Give me a minute. Was it Sabres? Because that's in my budget. And that'll come up in another question, which is a screener. Oh. I know.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so
Where is my slide?
we talked about, at the last meeting, materials, training, and these were things we already have started this year and are going to continue next year. And it's in my supplies budget, materials for Spire and Wilson Reading programs. So that's in my budget. It's separate from the curriculum budget.
It's
Carrie's.
in.
It's in
where's-
supplies, not
Supplies.
curriculum.
611
Yeah.
in student services,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
page 8.
I think we're just trying to make sure it's there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We found it. Okay,
Okay.
good to go?
Yes, Mr. Butler, you're good.
All right. Curriculum instruction, we had some questions about some of the programs that we're using that I'll turn over to Dr. McLean. So the first one is about EduClimber.
So EduClimber is a program that we brought on this year. It's replacing our SIMS database. It is less this year because we don't have onboarding costs, but going forward it will be the same amount or lower. There is no PowerSchool add-on for data analysis or warehousing. PowerSchool did purchase a data management company, which we did look at in our search for data companies. They were Both EduClimber, those are the two major companies out there. Both EduClimber and the other company came in exceptionally close in price, like negligible, a couple $100 maybe difference. We ended up going with EduClimber. We're working on the onboarding now. I want to make sure I answer all the parts of these questions. So this is the program that does it for us, and we did get rid of a program that didn't do it. The other program that we had was less expensive, but did require more manpower in manually inputting things. So there's a balance. And also this program, because we are really trying to push our MTSS data, this program really helps us to aggregate and disaggregate that MTSS data in the way that we need to see it.
Want to roll right to the next one?
So Amplify Desmos is a program that we have been implementing over the last couple years. 6 through 8 started. So we have the materials for that. It's been in place for 3 years, I think. We have all of the foundational materials and the teacher materials. Also at the secondary level, the materials for students are generally digital and less expensive. For WIS, we are implementing this year. So we have teacher materials, we have some of the materials. The only thing that we're needing to update are the consumables. So that number went down. And our K through 2 number, this will be the first year that we implemented. So we need all of the teacher manuals, we need all of the teacher resources, we need the student, we need the whole package. So we will see the cost for K2 go down next year because we won't need those teacher materials and things like that. But when you're talking about K through 5 in particular, there's generally consumables with any program that you need to purchase yearly. So there is a cost that is reoccurring.
Okay, any other questions about this slide? All right, we're going to keep it going with Dr. McLean, and she's going to talk about Parent Square, our communication program.
So we actually started to look at Parent Square last year at the recommendation of one of the board members. We were using School Messenger, and if you remember, we had some glitches last year in communication with the School Messenger that we were using, and it was pretty timely that we look into something that was much more user-friendly and accessible to more people. Parent Square allows us to do that. It allows us communication with families. It allows us communication with all different families. And it is streamlining communication across the district because we had at one school, they were using one system. So now we're all using the same system. Some people love it. Some people hate it. From a person that sends things out regularly, it is much more user friendly to send out messages and get messages out to people in a very quick way. There are settings, and maybe we have to send something out additional to the families to let them know that you can turn off some of those notifications if you just want to get notified one time a day, unless it's a life or death situation. You can do that. So maybe that's on our end where we can give some people some basic training in how you can kind of shut those notifications off if you don't need them all the time.
Mrs. Ross?
You just said that they can turn off some of the notifications and get them just one way unless it's a life or death situation. But how would Parent Square know that?
Because we would put it in that way. So when we're sending it out, we set, there's a difference between here's the newsletter for the week and your kids are in a lockdown. So we would, on our ends, when we send it out, we would indicate that this is something that has to be pushed out right now to everyone and it's an immediate notification. There are settings that say, I would like to be notified one time a day at this particular time and let me know of all the things that happen during the day at this time. So you can manage those things, those notifications that are not time sensitive or safety related. But Parent Square knows that because that's how we would set it up for the push out.
That's great, thank you. And I do think as a parent, we probably do need some training because I didn't know I could change the settings in Parent Square. So thank you for telling me. Everybody good there? Okay, ready to move on to people services?
Okay, pupil services. So, question one was just confirming that the excess cost reimbursement was included in the budget, and yes, it was. It's in two places within the student services budget. Part of it is, in Object 323, and the other one is in Object 560, which is tuition. Second question: what are some of the things that cause volatility within our student services? And so there's quite a list there. I think I can say a few quick things, and I'll let Mrs. O'Leary jump on. But just in general, you're trying to budget, months ahead of the upcoming school year, not necessarily knowing the needs of that student population. You know what the needs are at that moment, but certainly by the time you get to the new school year, students may have entered or left the district, or students in district may require additional services that you weren't anticipating. And Sari, I don't know if I left you anything to add, but
No, one of the big things in here actually that changes too is magnet tuition is in this this section for students that have special education services. We have to pay for their services. So we might have 5 students that decide to go to a magnet school that have an IEP next school year, but we don't know that until they've enrolled in the summer and they decided that. So it's very volatile. So it's kind of hard for us to get an exact number. Yeah, thank you.
perfect. And then question number 3, I'll go right back to you, Sari. This was just about using outside psychiatrists and testing agents, so I'll let you respond to that.
Yeah, so we, through PPTs and usually through PPTs, sometimes through outside confidential settlement agreements that we have with families, there's requests for psychiatric evaluations, which we don't do in district because we don't have psychiatrists. We have social workers and psychologists who don't do psychiatric evals. And those are more in-depth evaluations, students really high-risk behavior. Assistive technology, we outsource our assistive technology evaluations. We typically use one of the RESCs to do those, CREC or ACEs, to do those evaluations or Learn. And those are for students that really require an in-depth evaluation of their needs. They may need communication devices or other low or high-tech assistive technology. So we have contracted with other providers, to help us figure out what's best for the student. And then neuropsychological evaluations as well. We don't have neuropsychologists. Again, we have psychologists. So neuropsychologists do a more in-depth look at the brain and really every facet of a student's learning profile. So we outsource for those too. And they're always very helpful in getting us information that we're looking for planning for students that we may not have already found through our own evaluations.
I think the question is about why the jump in this year's budget.
Yes,
So
the jump. It is a jump. I would say it's due to an increasing need for students, especially that have mental health risks. We've done a lot of psychiatric evaluations this year. On top of that, we have had some confidential settlement agreements that had agreed on these. So those are something that we really have to move forward with, and it's not an option. But we always look in district first to see what have we done, what could we do in terms of our own assessments. But yes, it is a large jump, and I would say the price increase of the evaluations of the providers we're using has also jumped. When I started 10 years ago here, it was like under $3,000 for an eval. Like now you might be paying $9,000, $10,000 for one evaluation. And there's a little wiggle room with us agreeing to the provider. But if they meet all of our requirements, we have independent evaluation guidelines. We really work with the families to utilize. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was just going to say, it is sort of like the insurance conversation too, because
Yeah.
there is a very small network of providers that do these evaluations. So we don't have a lot of options to shop it around.
We also like certain people, which is a good thing, but they may be more money, but we like them because they spend time and effort and have good, rich evaluations. We're not going to pay for something that we are not feeling is beneficial, and it's a waste of money. So we might spend a little bit more, but we know that evaluator and we've worked with them in the past, and that helps build, that partnership too. So
Thank you.
And I can just add to your comment that I recall when we were working on the pupil services budget, we really looked at actuals for this year, and we saw that those costs were trending up, and so we really wanted to match our budgeting with what was happening.
Sorry, question 3 had multiple parts. So the last part of question 3, how often do we refuse a parent request for an outside evaluation with cause given our own internal evaluation results? I don't know that we're allowed to do that, but
If we refuse requests, as you know, I'm looking at you, Matt, I'm not sure if you asked this question, but we would have to defend our evaluation.
I think that's pretty clear.
We would have to, it wasn't condescending, I promise. We would have to defend our evaluation in court, go to due process. I've never done that here. I've consulted with our attorneys, and a lot of the time that's more time and effort, and we really try to work with families, and we do honor their requests for outside evaluations, so, yeah. But when I do my first one, I'll let you know.
well, we'd rather not spend the money on
I know,
lawyers too,
right?
so. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Question 4. Mr. Butler, are you taking this one?
Sure. So question 4 was asking about the increased cost of paraprofessionals for the ESY, which is the extended school year program, i.e. summer school. And I can only clarify to say that I think the number that increased was paraprofessionals that are working at with students that are outplaced during the summer. Not at our summer school program here within Cromwell.
That's fine.
And so, Mrs. O'Leary, I don't know if you can just comment on maybe why that is at the outplacements.
Yeah, I would say due to an increase in students that are outplaced that have para support that attend ESY. That's why that number has increased. But if you look at our ESY budget page, which is the first page in our budget, those paras, you're correct, do get paid that 27 and change an hour. But we don't make up the para rate at the outplacements. They give us the rate and we just put it in the budget. Yeah, it's completely different.
I'm sorry, Lori, go ahead. I'm trying to figure out if I want to ask a question or not.
Ask.
Well, I asked the question, so, yeah, but it seemed like it was a significant increase, so it caught my eye. So, you're saying, but why is it so much more than last year, I guess, is the...
Increasing student need of students that have one-on-one paras that attend ESY with them.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so my question, when a student of ours goes to a town summer camp and they have a paraprofessional with them, are we covering that cost? Does the town cover that cost?
We
Does
don't.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I really only have this at Camp Cromwell. They actually provide like additional adults or college students whoever to be with students that may need it. We've never paid for any of that. No, and Camp Sunrise, we don't pay for that. The only thing we do for Sunrise is we provide a bus for students that may attend ESY and then go to Sunrise after. We've always had that agreement with them, but we've never paid for. I think if I did that, I'd open a can of worms, providing paras at camp. So.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that mine? Oh, that's
On to professional technical services. Just a question about, again, from the executive summary, just confirming if the amount of 521,197 was correct. That number is correct, and in the notes I just put the breakout for each section 330 throughout the budget, what that amount is, and that adds up to 521,197. I noted that the 413,497 that somebody was asking about was exactly $107,700 short, so I think they may have overlooked the curriculum and instruction amount.
You want to keep going? Maintenance?
Maintenance. Okay. Few different questions about expenditures and increase to facilities. I'm going to let Claudio talk a little bit about this. The first one is about the CMS facilities object 420, the preventative maintenance services.
As you see from the notes, the majority of the increase in PM services and contracted services is CMS. we went from a building that had window air conditioning to a central HVAC system. There's several hundred filters alone that have to be changed periodically. So there's additional costs with this new building, new technology and equipment that we never had before. And we also have fire alarm inspections. We're tied into the fire department, which is a separate system. So to answer the CMS, there is a cost associated with having this brand new building.
I think that rolls right into question 2, yeah.
Correct. As far as question 3, the building was painted, but the choice for the walls was white, which for a school is not conducive to keeping that clean. Even kids just walking down the hallways, running their fingers across, just the oil on our skin is leaving marks. So what we are proposing is to paint the bottom half of the walls in the corridors a gray. We don't want to make it too dark because we want to keep it light. The building looks beautiful, very bright with the white. But the area where normally the kids reach, we want to darken that up and also change the type of paint to more of a gloss.
Make
so
it
it's easy to-
cleanable.
Yeah, make it
Yeah.
cleanable.
Something that we requested.
Yes.
Um,
So,
Stay on.
all right. Thank you. We
You're
appreciate it. Our beautiful new school
Yeah.
should not have white walls. Mrs. Russ has a question. I know what it is. So,
Isn't this
oh.
something that we requested, or our administrators and principals requested and we were denied?
I
Change in color?
I don't know. I don't know who picked the white walls because that happened before I arrived during part of the design process. So probably the design committee might have had a voice in it. I don't think a principal would come out and pick white walls in the school.
Okay. Well, I think we're not going to relive it. We do need to repaint.
Yep.
I think that's why it's on there. And yes, gray and something that is much more easily cleaned.
Yes.
Good idea. Thank you.
A lot of money on those magic erasers.
Yeah, magic erasers don't cut it.
No.
Taking the brush
Okay,
of this one,
think
that's my
question 4, I think is the last one for you, Mr. Pisano.
Yes. ECS continues, as an older building, continues to need improvements. When I first arrived here, there was some discussion regarding ECS being a future building project, and that seems to have died down. Nobody has any appetite to discuss it at this time. So we are going to incur costs with ECS building with time, try to keep it running until a decision is made what the future of that building will be.
I can just add, Steve and I are both attended the first townwide facility and asset committee meeting last week, and part of the conversation was just looking at our current facilities and what needs to be replaced and scheduling that out and thinking about repairs versus replacement. So that group, even in their first meeting, is already having those conversations.
Awesome, thank you.
Not that we're ready to replace ECS, that wasn't the conversation, but just
Thank
thinking
you.
about long-term planning for what we need to do.
Correct.
Great. Okay, on to equipment repair. So a question about, do we have contracts for musical instrument repairs and tuning, and why was there such a large increase over the period of a few years? I spoke to both Mr. Kuckel and Mrs. Cocciola at the middle school and high school, and they talked to me about how the band program suffered during the COVID period, and the programs are now on the rebound, which is wonderful news. But with that, regrowth requires repair and making sure that we maintain all of our instruments to the best of our capability. And I know CMS, CHS, and Woodside are using Middlesex Music Company as their repair place.
Okay, want to keep going into
Sure.
property
absolutely.
insurance?
Yep. Question 1 was about just the culture. Do we have a strong safety culture among our employees? So I'm just going to let Ms. DeMoro answer that first question about our trainings.
Sure. So yes, we do have a strong culture. We have Board of Ed policies that cover sexual harassment and non-discrimination. We have multiple trainings for our employees, such as Title IX, DCF mandated reporting, bloodborne pathogen training, PMT training, our employee handbook, which our employees are required to review every year and look through and sign off. And every school has also a school climate specialist. Each employee also has the ability to report any unsafe conditions to their building administrators, their school resource officers, their director of district operations and security, myself, human resources, and any central office administrator that they feel comfortable with.
There's a safety issue. We know about it very quickly. No one's shy, which is a good thing, right? We want to know. And usually we already do know.
Okay, the next question was just about our workmen's compensation over the last few years and how does our budget reflect that trend. In general, the amounts that we're paying for workers' comp have been increasing about 3% each year. And so when we looked at what had been budgeted previously, we saw that the budgeting actually got a little bit ahead of that 3% increase. So we were able to reduce this year, which is nice. And then finally, question 3, I think just some clarification was needed on that question about anticipating safer conditions for the new middle school. So I'm not sure if anybody from the board would like to clarify on that question. I'm not sure. I don't recall who wrote it.
I don't know who wrote it either, so if anybody wants to ask follow-up, that'd be great. I will point out your answer to question 2 and a response to the question 1. So 3% workers' comp increase is pretty darn good. So if that is reflective of an organization that values safety. Workers' comp claims and workers' comp renewals are not as bad as health insurance, but they're pretty high. So 3% is great. Anybody want clarification on question 3 or explain question 3? Okay.
You don't know who asked it?
I don't have them in front of me.
list either.
Oh, okay.
We took it out. We felt that it was answered by. We have talked in the past about. There were so many things that were unsafe about the old building, right? We all know it. We made sure we kept it as safe as we possibly could with as little money as we could, especially towards the end with band-aiding everything. Do we feel that it's safer as far as absolutely it is? I would say that it is, but does that mean that someone is not going to get hurt? They could, but yes, we do believe that it is a safer. It's just, if you just think about the central air alone and changing the air filters, it's safer in that aspect just alone. So yes, I would say that it has made a tremendous impact. Kids are happy.
Okay. I'll move on to travel co-curricular.
Okay, the first question was just about, for the high school, about the CAA supplemental. CAA is the Cromwell athletic account. It's an account where money collected through sports tickets for games is collected. And I think for quite a long while, as long as I could find going back into previous budgets, some portion of that money has been added to the athletic travel account to help supplement those expenses. So currently for this year, it's 14. I'm not sure where this number came from. 14,810. It's very specific. Was added towards the account, and I think in talking to Mr. Kuckel and Mr. LeMay, we have room to increase it a little bit, and so we just rounded it up to 15,000 to make it a little bit easier to work with. But it's just a supplement. And then the second question was just about, was the budget amount for all that transportation correct? And it is correct. And I think where there may be an issue is remembering that $15,000 for the CAA, it's a credit. So you would subtract it from the total amount.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
You can just keep going.
Okay.
You're on a roll. Some of
Okay.
these are quick.
Yep, they're quick. So advertising and printing, this was about postage. Postage was actually kept flat because We can pre-purchase postage. We have postage machines, and so we pre-purchase postage. Say that 5 times fast. And so it rolls from year to year. It always stays with the machine. So we have a good amount at each of the schools, and so we were able to keep our postage increases really flat because we want to spend down the amounts that we already have existing on the machines. No need to increase. And then secondarily, I think the amount of things that we're mailing probably is decreasing as we see more things being communicated electronically.
Thank you. Okay, I think you answered some of these tuition questions earlier, but
Sure,
you
I'll
could-
just touch on them quickly again. So, so for the VOAG and the magnet school tuition, we did see a large decrease for those amounts, and really for 2 reasons. One, we are seeing a decrease in the number of students that are enrolling in the magnet schools and in the VOAG programs, and then secondly, recently last year the state they changed the financial structure for the magnet schools so that the cap that districts pay it's capped at 58% of the tuition, and so that those prices actually went down for us, the tuition prices. So we were holding the budget line steady there for a while, and then we started to see the decrease last year, and so this year we really did a deep dive into what was happening with that, so we were able to make some nice reductions there. The second question is about the Central Connecticut Transition Academy, so I'll just let Mrs. O'Leary talk about that.
I don't want to put an exact number because it could be identifiable, but approximately 10 students at a time, give or take, plus or minus a few. So I know like this year we have a few graduating, but next year we have actually a good number that we're recommending to go to our Transition Academy. And we split the costs with Berlin. They have a whole breakdown. They bill us, quarterly, and it's for the salaries, the rent, the van, maintenance, and all of that. That's included. The utilities. So we split that. It's about $200,000 each, give or take. Sometimes a couple $1,000s more, but yeah, it's a great program. I always talk so highly of it. So yeah.
Okay, any questions on tuition? Okay, 580 travel for personnel. The question was, are travel expenses paid as incurred or paid as a stipend? And the answer is both. Administrators and individual contracts are paid by stipend as part of their contract, and all their staff are paid as incurred. 590 other purchase services. The question was, why was there an increase? There was a note in the executive summary. Why was there an increase of about $63,000 over the current budget? And what services are being purchased and why the large increase? The primary increase there was from the system-wide technology, which that rolls right into question 2. Can you explain the significant increase in system-wide technology purchase services, specifically the Palo Alto networks? So I'm going to turn that one over to Steve to just talk a little bit about what's happening there.
So with the addition of with the new middle school, a second Palo Alto firewall was purchased for the new building, giving us the capability of having both firewalls running in high availability, which is like a clustered failover redundancy. It's our single most important piece of equipment in our infrastructure because it handles all our internet communication and traffic. Every year since I've been here, more services have been moved to the cloud, including our email, such as Google. Our phone communications now mostly have voice over IP. So it's very critical that we have the redundancy in place. And that's largely the increases. Also, Palo Alto, like every other company, is raising their fees. They've changed their structure. It used to be the modules we use in the Palo Alto for our web filtering and other services used to be modular. Now they're part of a package that they make you get, and that has also caused part of the increase. It's just they're changing their structuring of their pricing.
Thank you.
Okay, and question number 3, I'm going to have Mr. Cockle come up, please, to just talk about, I don't even know if you say, is that SCORE, Andrew? You
Yeah,
pronounce that
SCORE.
SCORE College Admission Program
Yep.
versus Naviance.
Yep. So just to answer the question, it did replace Naviance. It connects to the Common App. It has an AI feature in it for our students where they kind of fill out a survey, and then it gives them an idea of what colleges would fit them best. So it is a great program for us. It did spike up in price, but Naviance is gone and long gone. It was not a good program for us, for our students, for secondary, post-secondary, plans, and SCORE has been a good replacement for that.
Thank you. Okay, all set with purchase services. Okay, rolling into instructional supplies. Just the first question was about headphones. And I did talk to Mrs. DeTuno about ECS students. They are purchasing headphones for the entire school. And I can also speak from my experience at Woodside that we go through a lot of headphones when you have a school of 500 students. They're absolutely necessary for daily work and, of course, for assessment situations. And so the kids need them, and we go through quite a few of them, and we're happy to do so. So
Spending less money on Ticonderoga pencils and more money on headphones these
Yeah.
days.
I think the other thing is we have tried some of the real low bargain price headphones, and I'll just say you get what you pay for with those. They don't last. They often don't work. And so, I think we're in sort of a happy place with moderately great headphones and providing the kids as many as they need to succeed. Question 2 was about instructional supplies at CHS. And you can see from the notes there, Mr. Kuckel noted that there's some increases in classes for art and woodworking, so those supply lines have gone up, and also testing supplies as a result of the PSAT now being given at 2 points during the year.
Thank you.
Good.
Flying through this.
All right. Question.
Mr. Paul, I'm sorry. I missed it.
Sorry, I was trying
Just
to flag
throw
you down.
something
It's
at me.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I would never.
You
throw
were
something.
waving, but I didn't see
I mean,
you.
I would
Sorry.
ask you maybe to throw a cookie at me, but
Lori.
no. I apologize. I actually meant to ask another question about the Palo Alto networks. I think 2 of us had asked about that, and are there other companies that provide the same service? Because I took a quick look at it, and Palo Alto is, from what I saw, kind of like the gem, right, of the group.
Well,
I get that they're probably, if not the best, one of the best, but
Yes.
there are a number of companies that provide that same service. Have we done a cost analysis to see what other companies could do? Could they do the same or similar at a lower price? Like Cisco, I know, does stuff like this as well. I'm just curious if we've done a cost analysis, and if not,
It's
should we?
difficult because the reason if we there is another product that we use for our endpoint security called Cortex XDR, which is also by Palo Alto. So what makes them, why we went with the product originally was, if you've ever heard of the Magic Quadrant, they are the leaders and innovators in the technology, and we thought they were the best, one of the best products on the market at the time. We also purchased the firewall, and then later we got their endpoint security, replacing our older endpoint security with the Cortex product. The 2 work in conjunction. So if we change the firewall, or we change the endpoint security, we would lose some of that benefit. It would be difficult to do the analysis. I mean, you probably could save money, but again, at the cost of the security and capabilities of the firewall, being able to do what's known as the wildfire analysis as threats come in on our end devices and
So,
whatnot.
and our firewall actually does help protect student personal data and stuff like that, right? Especially in an age where these things are under attack.
Yeah, there are, yes, a lot of capabilities.
Okay, so really, if we change from Palo Alto to something else, we probably have to change at least 1 or 2 other systems we're operating.
Also,
You're saying
math-
they're integrated.
We have also
Oh, go ahead,
had,
Dr. Mecker.
Experiences over the last couple of years where our students have managed to break into the firewall and cause havoc when we did not have Palo Alto.
I'll correct you. They didn't break into the firewall.
Well, what did they do? They
So-
surpassed,
so-
whatever
so-
you
well,
call
well,
it.
it-
I just, so
No,
my,
just as
Steve
a-
will fix my, well, listen, he loves what I say. Someone just spammed me. He's like, no, it's called phishing, Enza. I'm like, oh, Steve, whatever it's called, fix it. Go ahead.
To give a brief history of what a few years ago we had the high availability. We had two firewalls running in conjunction in high availability mode. We had an incident where they were overrun with traffic and couldn't handle the capability. We could not afford to get both another two firewalls of a beefier spec. So we have the one up until recently when we got the new building and got a second one, which now we're better protected from a denial of service attack such as what we encountered back a few years ago.
The amount of money we spent on unraveling that situation probably has, in staffing and then working with the probably has paid for itself twofold in this situation. And it's been scary without having two systems. We used to bite every day we'd be biting our fingernails. So yeah. Can we? Yes.
I want our stuff
Yeah.
protected. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
do we
can
need
we-
to protect it with a Mercedes or can we protect it with a Chevy?
Yeah, I think we had the Chevy, and it scared the heck out of us. And I think we were like, okay, we need to really look into something a little bit better.
Mrs. Russ.
It's like
Thank you for revisiting. I appreciate it.
it's like a car with a regular key that's easier to steal. But if you have a fob and you don't leave a fob in a key, that car is a lot harder to steal. Probably the best analogy. And it was 4 years ago that it happened. Know the student, know what grade they're in.
Okay, moving on.
Well, when they talk about it,
Instructional
Okay, moving on.
supplies, Mr. Potwell. Let's keep
Here
going.
we go.
got
Let's
this.
talk about the COGAT, shall we?
We're going to ignore the leads
Thank you
to
for
my right
letting
and
me,
left.
thank you for letting me go back and revisit that one.
Okay,
Let's
question
not
three.
revisit.
Question three was about in our student services, there was a large jump for the cost of the COGAT. And can speak basically about that cost, and then if we need to add on, we can have Mrs. O'Leary or Mrs. Bennington speak to it. But basically, the COGAT is a screener that's given to third graders at Woodside, and up until this point, we've been using the paper and pencil version of it, which includes a lot of bubbling and a lot of old school, shall I say, filling in, which is quite tedious. We're looking now for the online digital version, which would better match what's happening with other assessments, such as the SBAC, M-Class, et cetera. And so that increase is really for the newer digital version and leaving the pencils and the bubbles to history. And then secondly, one cost that we didn't we haven't factored in, it was super expensive for us to ship those paper tests back to the, I guess, the data scoring center, wherever that is. It was quite expensive for shipping and postage, et cetera. So that's something that we'll be reducing to help offset the cost. And I think that's about it. So, Mrs. O'Leary, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Mrs. Barry, I'll throw you under the bus for a second. She asked for the last few years to get the online version, and we kept saying no. We kept saying it was too expensive, and then we bit the bullet and we said, okay, let's do it. I know, I'm just being silly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Berry, for getting us back into modern day, and we're not bubbling with number 2 pencils.
I was hanging on for.
And the reality was that kids didn't know how to bubble anymore, so it was Miss Bennington and Miss Berry who was bubbling, and that takes a lot of time. They need to be
They were bubbling for the kids.
helping bubble and
Okay,
erasing
so when we talk about
bar.
efficiencies, this is an easy
Right.
one.
It
Thank
was-
you, Mr.
Yes,
Bowe.
it's an efficiency for sure.
Wow, okay.
Okay, and then
Keep going.
Question 4, Mrs. O'Leary, could you just speak about Sabres and
Yes.
the replacement of DESA?
So we had DESA in the past. If you remember, we did have a discussion about the social emotional screener that was provided by the state. It was free, and that was DESA. We used that for a number of years, and we brought it to the board to explain what that was. And it's a screener really that catches students in different areas to ensure that we're not missing anybody that may be exhibiting, mental health crises, and so on. So because that's not free anymore, provided by the state, DESA was, I would say, astronomically more money to pay for than Sabres. I'll thank Ashley because she did the research for Sabres. Sabres also, so it's a social emotional screener, but it's under the Renaissance platform, I would say, where EduClimber is. So it's all going to be under the same system, which is also nice that we'll have it all there. And again, it collects data for us, provides lessons for the teachers that they can focus on. And it's, again, significantly cheaper than the DESA would have been if we have to start paying for that.
Mr. Leary, is this the one that that Mr. Kowalski presented on? On the prevention side, he came in and did a presentation with youth services, or is this something different?
No, I don't think.
No, this is different. This
Okay.
is something that's mandated by the state of Connecticut, and for the first couple of years, they had a partnership with DESA, and they gave us the assessment for free. That 3-year, I think it was, partnership ended, and then we, as districts, we had to find something to replace it.
I don't know
Okay,
what he
thanks.
presented on, but it wasn't this.
There was another screening tool that we had to approve.
That was the youth. Yeah, that was through youth services. We had a grant to collect data on.
So it was
different-
similar topic, but
Similar, yes.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to energy and utilities. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bizzano. The first question is just about $161,000 increase related to electricity and gas, and I'll just have him talk a little bit about that.
As you can see from the numbers, the total increase in utilities is 161,000, of which about 130 is from is electricity, about 26,000 from natural gas, and about another 5,000-6,000 for water for the fields around the middle school. Now, the conversation regarding the PV system on the middle school is still conjecture. It hasn't been bought yet, hasn't been installed yet. We don't know exactly it's going to take time for them to program it before we even determine what kind of savings. We have an engineer that says we should recoup about 50% of the electrical cost. And if they're on target, we're looking at about $10,000 a month in saving in electricity for the middle school. So as far as how you want to fund it, I'm going to leave it up to you. My recommendation is to leave it in there until we have it running, until we know what the actual savings, and then we can properly budget next year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Going to move on to instructional equipment. So just a question was about the increase for CMS instruments and, although it's a different object, the related music textbooks. And I spoke to Mrs. Cocciola, and as I mentioned earlier, we're really growing our music programs. So CMS needs additional keyboards for their general music classes. They have 11, but they need 21. And in terms of expanding their band program, they're hoping to purchase instruments, some of the pricier ones such as a tuba or euphonium for the band. And then regarding the music textbooks, they're looking at Soundtrap for Education, which is a program that will help build their general music program where students can actually compose and produce music. Any questions about that?
You're like down to your last 3 slides.
Okay, here we
Doing
go,
great.
739. Okay, non-instructional equipment. I'm going to have Mr. Kuckel come up, please, just because a lot of these items have to do with the high school. The first question just talks about all of the items that are on the 739 list for athletics, and I'll let you respond, Mr. Kuckel.
Yeah, so the items that we listed there, predominantly they're the windscreens, I believe, that stood out on that front, and the golf cart. The windscreens are just something that you essentially see at most high schools, and certainly shoreline high schools. When you go to play them, they are that screen barrier for wind, but also it makes the facility look nice. It is something that draws attention to it, makes it look clean, makes it look good. We used to have one that the baseball boosters paid for the baseball field. That has since deteriorated, so we wanted to have one for the baseball field, softball, and track and field area to put those windscreens up. And then the golf cart, I think it ties into the second question, but that was another larger ticket item for us. That golf cart is older. It does not cost much to maintain. In fact, we've even had Mr. Borgia work on it a few times for us to do some basic things that it needs. It is nearing the end of life. We can certainly reach out to other places to see if they have one available for us. But what we use it for is our athletic trainer after school, especially in the fall and the springtime. That is what he does. He is outside. He is bouncing from baseball to softball to wherever. He's able to respond for injured athletes because that golf cart has the back that you can put someone on who is injured. So quite often it's used to transport people to their cars, maybe after a game, a student athlete who is hurt, or possibly to the ambulance. And then we also use that golf cart at graduation time to help grandparents and whatnot just get around and because we always host it on site, our graduation. So it is a multi-use golf cart. It does not cost a lot of money to maintain, but it is nearing its end of life. And then the other thing was the Career Center. That is right behind you. That is that new space that we have, and we were looking for flexible furniture, and we can obviously look and have and reach out to the community and see if anybody has any contacts on that front. But we were looking for a sizable investment just in the furniture for that space, and we can, of course, look at other options first for that.
Mr. Kuckel, we will gladly donate, the Board of Ed will gladly donate these tables to your Career Center.
I love these tables. I don't want,
We do not, so you can have them.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. We have someone coming in to meet with us.
The key word is flexible. So like these, you can throw out your back moving these. That is part of the problem. But yeah, so.
All right, I have a
Thank
question.
you.
Is the $23,700 specifically for the windscreens?
No, I believe it adds up to about, it would be windscreens, because there's 3 different ones on there. The golf cart, and then
there's a lineman sled for the football
lineman
program,
sled.
and
Yep.
as well as the practice goalposts.
The goalpost. So all of those athletic things are needed.
You say a
Or not.
sled?
Yeah, it's like a lineman sled.
Oh.
Yeah, on the ground, 3-point stance.
Too much snow.
Pop
That's
out,
awesome.
yeah.
My head's
Yeah.
thinking about snow.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's the old one. Did we get rid of the old one, or is it still over there? Kind of just.
I think the old one is still there.
Yeah.
We got rid of the old one.
Yes. Yeah.
There was 2.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. But. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Mr. Kuckel. And then one more question about non-instructional. About non-instructional equipment. This was based on the executive summary. Just wondering about the overall increase, and I think we just covered a lot of the where the increases lie with the CHS budget. The question was just asking about, was there a correlation between an increase for CMS and a decrease with central administration? So just a caveat to be careful with, when you're looking at the executive summary, it's best to just kind of jump in and look at each of the separate sections within the budget, because it was noted that there was a 67% decrease in the central administration non-instructional equipment. However, that was really just going from $1,500 to $500. So the percentages there are a little bit misleading. So, when in doubt, kind of jump in and look at the individual sites for each to get a better picture of what's happening there. Hopefully I answered that completely. All right, we made it through there, and now we're on to other. First question was just about what is the status of our overage from 24-25. It's still intact. Just as a refresher, the amount that was set aside was $577,517.71. $201,570 has been earmarked for the track project. and so that would leave a balance of $375,947.71. And then question 2 was, has the surplus from last fiscal year been incorporated into this budget? And at this time, none of that surplus has been incorporated into this budget. Question 3 was about a sensitivity analysis. Has that been completed by the town to talk about the impact of the increase? Dr. Macri and I were not aware that any such survey had been done. And then question 4, I'll turn over to Dr. Macri about contingency plans regarding the budget.
So of course, I'm always looking at the entire budget. Sadly, I know when we spend $20, $4,000, and $200 million dollars. I'm sorry, $200,000. We all know that there is about $200,000 in other. Of the 2.6, 2.4 is salaries and benefits. So we could get rid of the golf cart and the goalposts and all that stuff, and we're going to get about $10,000, $15,000. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to look at it. Of course, we are going to look at that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to positions, salaries, and benefits. So we talked to you a little bit about new salary positions, and a total of those of the salaries of the new positions that we are asking for are a total of about $250,000. We don't know what the benefits will be because it depends on who takes what, right? So that's really where we will have to look and dig deep. I know enrollment very well myself, Dr. McLean, Mr. Butwell. It's nice to have a principal in the building. We look at everything all the time. Can we condense classrooms? Can we? Should we? Will we? Those are all questions to be answered in the future, right? We have to really get a number on our insurance. We have small class sizes, and I feel like we need small class sizes because some of the social emotional needs of our students have just grown tremendously, as we've spoken of. So if we could provide the supports that the kids need when they're younger in a smaller class size, then there's a greater chance that they will not need those supports as they get older. So I'd like to keep them that way, but we are closely monitoring enrollment numbers and looking at where we can possibly combine classes if we had to. Other things that we've talked about, like some of the opportunities that we offer our students. Do we have clubs that are, not as many students as we would like it to be? Yes, we'd have to look at those too. Those are stipend positions. But at the end of the day, the big one is salary and benefits. So we have to look at that. Now, we also, Mr. Butwell just talked to you about the $375,000 surplus that we have. I do have an idea. We can get to it later and you have to have a discussion. I can give you suggestions clearly. It's up to you as to what you want to do with that money. We know, for those of us that have been here, it's been very difficult with special education over the years. This year has been a very different situation. It's probably never going to happen again. So a lot of other districts keep that money on reserve for special education, capital improvement plans. So I could talk to you about that. We could talk about that a little later. I have some ideas. If you want just to know what I'm thinking. The $375,000, I don't want to see the entire thing go. But we have about $85,000 in capital projects. Now, not CNR, but capital outlay projects. It's about $85,000 if you look to that page in your binder. We can pay for all of this and get started on it immediately, July 1st, maybe even sooner, right? Because we can use that money in the reserve. And then we could take that out of the budget for next year, which would then, we'd spend about, like we said, about $85,000. So then we'd be down close to about $295. That could be one student. That could be two students with special services. It's nice to have not a pit in your stomach and know that you can go somewhere. We have had years where we've ended with $1,400, $7,000. It's scary to know that we don't have anything to fall back on, especially with what we're seeing right now. We also have no idea, also, you heard from the presentation, this budget right here with a 6.61 is with a 25% increase. Right now, we have a 52% increase with Cigna. That's where we're at if they don't come back with a different number. So those are the reasons why I'm skeptical. But I also think that should we use some of the money? I do think we should use some of the money. At the end of the day, that's really up to you about how much we use when you vote on your budget. Because right now it's just my proposed budget. So with that being said, you know, you have a lot to discuss.
Okay. Interestingly, there's a chat in the CABE board chair chat about what to do with reserve fund accounts and how important it is. The consensus is maintaining some of that is very important because you never know what is to be down the pike with any kind of major capital project or special services for students with special needs. So it was very timely, interesting chat that I shared with Dr. Macri because lots of districts are trying to make some decisions around that right now. And I guess I'll open it up at this point. Well, first I want to say thank you very much to Mr. I'm sorry.
We have just one or two
Oh,
more other questions.
why did we
too.
stop?
There's one more. Two more.
It kind of felt like we were done, but we.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Lamb has a question before we jump.
Yeah, those were some of my questions around the sensitivity analysis. Given the 52% or the 73% that Cigna was looking at, who knows what these other numbers are going to come back like? And the town, it sounds like they're going to be in the same situation. Maybe they've never done an assessment like this before, but I mean that's pretty significant. You know, is the Board of Finance looking at doing the impact is across the whole town, all of the town employees. So what if it's not 6.61? What if it has to be 6.8 or 7? Like, what is that?
Yeah, the town usually, when the Board of Finance looks at the budgets, they usually say, you know, if we accept this amount, then we will have to increase the mill rate. Like
Right, right.
They do that every single year.
Right.
Is that what you're asking about?
Sort of.
Because if
Sort of.
our budget goes into the rest of the town's budget, so that would factor in when they look at all of those pieces.
Yeah, so I know they do that after the fact, but if we put 6.61% forward, that's what they're assessing. When we might actually say, no, we need it to be 7 because of the insurance and because we need to sustain the district the way that we're running, we need to support our students. What we would really say is we need 7%, like a what if.
So we won't vote, whatever you all determine here, right? And then Tony presents, town manager Salvatore presents his budget in April when we present ours to the Board of Finance. So whatever you vote here, right? Then the Board of Finance votes in April, and then that goes, you know, out to referendum. And I think honestly, people make a decision. Do they have a discussion as to how it's going to impact everything? They do at that very long April meeting. It's so fun.
Oh, that's very sensitive. Yes. Yeah. I'm just thinking more proactively. That's
Yes.
all.
No. I think it's more exactly
We
what
have
we
to
were
wait
just
until
saying.
we decide what we want to put
Yeah,
forward.
and then
Okay.
yes, and then they have that discussion that evening, that very long discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Nope. Thank
Which
you for
makes
the
sense. It's a lot of money.
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a good point. Well,
My apologies, Mr. Butler. I got so excited I thought we were done. So 2 more questions, I think.
No problem at all. I think Dr. Macri is going to be tackling these as well. Number 6, she kind of already addressed, just talking about do we have a breakdown of student population by grade and class size, et cetera. So that is something that we're monitoring carefully.
I'm sorry, I asked that question, but I think I'm looking for a little bit more, like a range of 8 to 18 students. That's a big range.
That's for, that was my answer for special needs. So I broke down, and maybe we misunderstood, I'm sorry. I looked at that second question about the average caseload for related service, but I also broke down teachers 8 to 18 for special education students? I know.
That wasn't what I intended. I
sorry.
just want to know overall,
Oh,
what are our
okay.
teachers?
Yeah.
How big are our classes
Got it.
by grade, and what are we looking at in terms of caseloads? And you mentioned if we had to consolidate classes, I just don't know what that looks like. So that's the question. If we have classes of 8 students apiece, that's pretty small. If we have average class sizes of 17, 18 students apiece, that seems like it's pretty large. So I was looking just for some information on what that looks like.
Focusing on
I
special education.
I didn't mean it for special ed, sorry.
Okay. So regular,
See?
because it depends, right. So
I appreciate
and
the
you would-
answer, but
regular education, right now, we are looking at in, at ECS, class sizes between 13 and 18 in K1, 2. So do we have some room for movement? You could determine what what you think, because when I made a determination out loud a few years ago, I almost got my head chopped off. So I'm just telling you, I'm just giving you the facts right now. And
that's I'm asking you to make a determination. I just wanted to know the information.
I almost lost my head.
We want you to keep your head.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not saying we're cutting anybody. I'm just saying we're cutting positions through attrition, because that's what it would be, through attrition, right? We know who's retiring. We know what's happening at this point in time. When we're looking at WISTs, we're looking at class sizes between 18, however, slightly higher as we go up grades to about 20, and then maybe in grade 5, 24, being our highest at the end of January. So WIS is at capacity, and we need what we have, right?
WIS 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
3rd, 4th, 5th. Oh, sorry, Woodside Intermediate, yes. So do we want to go up? Do we want class sizes to increase by 3, 4 kids? My answer is always going to be no. Can we look at some situations that where we may have to, because insurance is so high? We might have to. That's the reality of it. It's also we look at what we're offering at the at the high school. We may have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kuckle, Ms. Cochiola. It's not actually. It's just the high school. We may have an English teacher who has 26 students at one point, but they may have another 26 students in one class, but they may have another class where they are servicing 5 or 6 kids, and that could be their lab, right? So they're providing more intensive services to those kids at that time, but then our classes are bigger because of it, right? So we would have to lose a lot of students to decrease some of our class sizes at the high school, and then we would have to offer less. Is that something that we really want to do? It's definitely not what I want to do, right? But would we look at that? Yes, we are already having conversations about everything that I just mentioned. It's everything right now. Do we have ideas of where we can go? Of course we do. You give me you give me a number, they give me a number, Board of Finance. We do what we have to do. That's the bottom line, right? And I will make it happen. And unfortunately, it's always going to be, we always know, and it's my job to tell you that it's going to be at the expense of students and their needs. And I'm not talking about students with needs, I'm talking about all students, because all students have needs.
Miss Cromwell Middle School. Miss Maddie's asking what the class
Well,
sizes
it's
are.
pretty, what is your class size? I would say 17, 18.
What?
Okay, that's
18 to 21 is what you're saying, Miss Cochiola? Wait, do you mind? Because I can hear, but I don't know if everybody else can hear.
The only way we could really change the middle school is if we didn't team, and we don't want to not team.
We have about 18 to 21 in the content areas. That's your math, science, social studies. But you're going to have bigger classes within your specials classes. So some right now currently have up to 30 kids in specials.
Oh, wiggle
Music,
room.
gym,
Yeah.
those kind of.
Correct.
We have
Correct.
no wiggle room at the middle school if we want to maintain the team philosophy. Now remember, we just built a middle school based on the team philosophy and the STEAM. We don't want to mess with it. It's going well. So there really is no wiggle room there. Where we could look more closely are the other areas that I talked about.
Okay. Now I'd like to thank you for putting together.
Hold on, we have just
There's-
one more.
Come on.
We do, sorry. We didn't, we have question
Oh, Orton
5.
Gillingham,
Can I
you
please
went out of
answer
order.
this?
You
No,
went
let
out
me
of order.
answer
That's
this
why.
question.
I'm sorry, I was
I'm
trying
gonna
to
be
link,
fresh.
I was trying to go back to previous answers. So.
No, you can't because
Can
you
I
are
just
going to
be a little fresh? Okay, I
We're
won't.
on film.
So
You can be
Siri,
you can be fresh, I suppose.
So-
or
so
Siri,
I was trying to-
Mrs. O'Leary can answer and save Dr.
Siri
Macri.
could answer the question, and at the end of the day, yes, it is correct. We would be investing in people that we may lose, and the chances are good, right? Because like Matt brought to everyone's, and you, it's not a secret. You're a special education teacher. You could go wherever you want, right? Right this today, not at the end of the year, not. You could be here, right? You could pick your school.
I mean, they make you cookies.
There's such a shortage area. So, yes, that could possibly happen. Of course it can. But my response was kind of being a little fresh with Dave Caslin, right? If I have a heart attack and I need to go to Middlesex and Middlesex doesn't have someone who could perform heart surgery on me at that time, I may die by the time I get to Yale. So that's my, you know what I mean? Like, I always put everything in medical terms. Our kids need it. They need it now. This is what they need. Do we train people and then they leave? Yes, that could always happen.
Mrs. Cantwell has a follow-up on that.
Yeah, that's not a reason not to train people. So our students need what they need.
Yep.
We train people. You can say that about any profession. Any profession, any job that any of us do, you get training at your job. You could leave at any time to go to another place. So
Yes, but if certain professions pay for certain certifications,
I understand
advanced
that.
education, and you leave within a
I was
contracted amount
talking.
of time.
I was talking. Anyway, my point is that is not a reason not to train the people. The students need what they need, so we need to train the staff. Period.
Can I piggyback? I think I had mentioned in the last response about this last 2 weeks ago, we really try to strive for that positive culture and climate too, which I think if you're investing in people, that also helps show that you care. And yes, they may look elsewhere because they're paying $10,000 more, you know, at a neighboring town, but the grass isn't always greener. And the hope is that, yes, people want to stay, but do they always know? But we don't know anything. So we do what we know now, right? And we know that the teachers need the training. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Lynn.
Sure. This was my question, and it was not whether we do the certification and training. It's if you are training the teachers, which we want to do, that means they're building experience. How do we keep them around and build the experience? And that's what we actually need for the students. So are there ways to keep those certified teachers here? That was really the genesis of the question.
So I think that's a Mrs. DeMoro question about incentives, because I think this is all tied into our contracts.
Yes. So basically, our incentives are all included in the collective bargaining agreements. But I think professional development is one of those incentives, like constantly training. And if you're stagnant in a position, you're not learning, are you really going to stay with that district? Because they're not investing in you, right? So I think it's very important to invest in your employees and provide them with professional development and growth opportunities. We do a lot in our district to try to retain, and we try to, look at our climate, and we do meet with staff. And the state does require us to do exit surveys when staff leave. It is a very competitive market in the state of Connecticut. I think we talked about this before, where you can kind of go, if you're in a shortage area, you can go wherever you want to go, especially down in Fairfield County, and make really great money, and there's no competing. So I think many districts do get some big, huge grants, like Alliance funding, where they can give bonuses. We, as I think Dr. Carrie McLean talked about, the grants that we get in the district were very limited. So we have to be creative in what we do for our staff. One of the things is when positions come up early, we need to post as early as possible. So having an approved budget as soon as possible is very important, because that gives me the opportunity to go out early and attend all these colleges and recruitment fairs. We need to get them as soon as possible and as fast as possible, and sign them on to bring in talent. And when we do post, we do get a good amount of applications in. So I'd like to say, the positions that we just had vacant in our last meeting, we are filling them. So it is happening. Cromwell is a great district where I think a lot of employees do want to come here. If you haven't visited the HR site, please do. We have a great video that we had a Cromwell High School student create, and it was the why do you want to come to Cromwell? And we have a lot of staff that actually talk to why they first came to Cromwell. So I think that's an important reason too.
Okay. No, I absolutely agree. It's not any one thing. All of those are very important to, attracting talent from any sort of skill set to the district. I was purely reacting to, we had a very deep discussion on this certification in the last meeting, so wanted to make sure that was something that we would focus on, but thank you.
Was a question about, there are districts, so for example, Alliance school districts, bigger inner city districts that offer tax cuts on their, your home, or you could get a mortgage. Cromwell is not one of those districts. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so.
You have to be a Title I district.
You have to be Title,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
You need
so,
yes.
yeah.
But good idea. No, I appreciate the creativity and how we can try to retain all this employees that we invest so much in. Miss Maddie, and then I want to thank Mr. Butwell. So I'll let you ask your question, and then we'll say thank you.
I have to say this as a former teacher of almost 35 years, who was wooed to a lot of school systems, and I never left my school systems because I just was too loyal. It was my community. I couldn't leave my school, not for 20,000. I know it sounds stupid, but I guess I thought I was going to be independently wealthy when I finally retired. Anyway, but I do know of things, and it's one of the questions, or a couple of the questions that I was asked by the I don't want to use union because it's the association, I'm sure, here at Cromwell. But the head of the association sent both of us, the new candidates, questions about education and how we felt about education. And one of the things I wanted to make clear from the get-go was, I love the fact that you publicly, to the tune of about an hour, of our time here, which is, I'm not saying anything about 10 o'clock. I didn't think and I stay up till forever, but for all you people go to work the next day, holy moly. I think that's wonderful. But I think that from the few people I've spoken to in the system, who are very loyal to the system, who love the people that they work with, who really would not easily give up leaving, those were the people who said to me, we just want to also be sure that we're heard. And what I made clear, I hope, when I answered some of these questions was the fact that I think first and foremost, teachers who are on the front lines of these battles, and some days they're horrendous battles, but they are stalwart, these teachers, and they handle things without getting the administration involved so often. They want to know that their principals, their administrators are listening to what they say. And it comes down to sometimes something as simple as, okay, we were building this new school, Cromwell Middle School, and I don't know how the teachers were involved, so I'm just using it as an example. But I certainly know what happened at Coginchog when they were just refurbishing Coginchog, and our teachers went to give input, and you know what? There was a lot of yesing, but in the end, it wasn't done the way we thought would be most effective. And frankly, those people who are in the classroom, they know better than all of us. They know exactly what they need. Just the way you said about the teams. Cromwell Middle School has been set up for team teaching, team learning. They know how that has to be run in order for it to be effective. So that's the first thing, it seems to me, that those teachers have to know that what they are saying is valued, that they don't have to be afraid that there are going to be repercussions if they say certain things. And I think that's how you keep that community going. I had kids at home. I went to every single basketball game at Coggins High School, all the years I was there. I did the same at Old Saybrook when I was single. I loved it. I felt it. And those kids who are now, and I've been meeting with them, because one of them happens to be, just had a stroke and she's 58. So a whole bunch of us got together to see her in the hospital, or not in the hospital, in the convalescent home. What we talked about was the fact that we did feel like a family. And all these years later, they treat me the same way, and they look so darn old. I've gotten old, but they look old too. And I still think of them as kids. And I think that that is more important than money or anything else. That's not to say that the teachers don't have to live. They certainly do. But you have to, the administrators, the principals have to let them know, especially in those faculty meetings, that you want to hear what they have to say and you value it. I think that's the most important thing. And that would keep me and most teachers who, remember, as I was told by a man who was very difficult to deal with at Coggins, but he was so right. He used to say to the female teachers, you female teachers, you are a detriment to us and to our negotiating, because you're mothers who go home and you don't stay for the union meetings to find out how much money we want for our next contract. You have to go home and pick up the kids from dance, from sports.
Tana?
Yes.
I'm going to stop you.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I'm going to stop you because not that I don't care, not that I'm not listening, but
know.
you're the one who told us 10 o'clock at night, so now I'm watching the clock.
I know. I'm just saying, I think that sometimes we don't realize what all of us together have to do to make those teachers feel valued.
It's a very good comment about culture and the importance of creating a welcoming culture and a sense of community. So thank you for the point. Well done. Okay. I would like to go back and just acknowledge Mr. Botwell and all the work that he did to thoughtfully and thoroughly answer all of our questions.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And the team that supported. So thank you very much. Okay. Oh, yes. So Dr. Macri pulled together some information based on, I'll just share, John Ireland, Dr. Macri, Mr. Botwell, and I met just to start talking about and thinking about what this ultimately looks like as we present to Board of Finance in a couple of months. They don't have a date yet, sometime in April. And so we were looking at some comparable data, which I think is really helpful for all of us to have as just a perspective. So I'll pass it to you.
So as superintendents, we share what we're proposing as the superintendent's budget. So Dirk D, just to let you know, we don't have all the numbers because some people are different times. Newington 9.8, Rocky Hill 8.9, Shelton 8.81, Southington 6.89, East Lyme 6.79, Cromwell 6.61, Clinton 5.62, East Hampton 5.41, Brantford 5.2, Windsor 4.97, Wethersfield 4.5, Milford 4.3, and then we have some just surrounding, in our area districts. I tried to just look at other. So, and some are. I want you to know that we have Andover at 6.1, and we have Bristol at 11%, and we have people saying it's less than 10%. They can't even get a handle because most of it is because of special ed and benefits, yeah. So, East Lyme, 6.79, Hebron, 5.9. Just to tell you that there are others. Greenwich, 3.13. Well, we all know the MBR is really high there to begin with. So, just to give you ideas, Naugatuck, 7.92. So, it's everywhere, and we have had conversations about this. That those are the two, the two big reasons why this is happening.
Okay. So we're falling somewhere in the middle of what we think our other communities are coming in with, and they probably don't have their insurance numbers completed as well.
So when I talk to them, Newington is really trying to wrap their heads around what they're going to do with special education, some of the things that we've already done. They've done other things as well, in-house. Rocky Hill, my conversation, it is what it is with special education and benefits. Everyone else got a good number. I will tell you my conversation with East Hampton, they're self-insured, either self-insured or in the partnership plan, and they don't know what the number is going to be. They haven't gotten that number, so they're going in guessing that it's going to be similar, but like you just heard, we don't know because they went out to bid. So, it's not, this isn't an easy year we would have been so good without this problem with benefits. We have been asked, so I want you to know that you will get March 10th, just to review, in the March 10 packet, you're going to get an updated presentation that we're going to provide to the Board of Finance. I have always provided the Board of Finance with the same presentation that we have provided you. There are some things that they want less of than they'd like to look a little bit deeper into. There are things that I don't know right now that they'd like to know and you don't know. So I always want you to have the first look. So on March 10th, whatever we bring to you on March 10th, unless we have a special meeting because it's burning and I have to change it for the Board of Finance meeting, is what I will present to the Board of Finance. So I just want you to know that we are looking at ways to show a return of investment. So we're putting this much money into this. How are our students performing and such? Because they're not at these meetings. So I just want you to know that we are doing that. We have a meeting first thing Thursday morning of starting that presentation, and we'll keep you updated.
Any other comments? I know this is a lot to digest, so I think we will probably save most of our discussion decision-making for next meeting, but open to comments or any additional questions or thoughts on how we move from here. And can you just remind me what was our percentage last year? I can't remember.
5.
Was it just under 6? Let me go to this page. That would almost get to Mrs. Lamb's question around appetite for increases. Is what have we historically passed?
So last
It was
year,
6.03, sorry.
Oh, 6.03. Okay, so pretty close to where we are now with this big question mark over insurance.
And if you, listen, I could defend this budget till the death of me, but if you think about it, we had our biggest negotiations this year. We had our teacher negotiations. If we give you a flat line of where we would, where we would be without this, we'd be in a really healthy place. But yes, and the suggestion that I made to you about perhaps paying for $85,000 of the capital outlay, I know that they always talk to us about MBR, so that would decrease the MBR, which is a savings to the town. These are things that you have to discuss. Maximum, oh my God, basically what you get. Once you give us a certain amount of money, you have to keep giving us that amount of money. Forget what the actual it stands for myself now. Chris, do you remember?
The minimum budget requirement.
Budget requirement. I'm sorry, I was doing math reimbursement. Yeah, they have to give it to us.
There's maximum budget.
Okay. Any general comments? Thoughts? Do you all want to just think on this and then we can come back next meeting? Is that how we want to approach it? Or any other ideas on I'm seeing some head nods. Okay. All right, we do have an action item. We need to approve the minutes and motions from our January 20th regular meeting, which is reference A in your packet. Can I get a motion to approve those, please? Thank you, Mr. Schuman. Thank you, Mr. Zabrowski, for the second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay. We have no reports. I just need to figure out if we are going to meet for, we have to figure out scheduling for policy and facilities and technology for the 24th.
And then can you also let me know, do you want to have a regular meeting? We will have an update for obviously the budget of where we're at right now. But then what kind of meeting would you like for that so that you have enough time for discussion? Do you want, are we going to have policy or facilities? That we just need to know.
Mrs. Camel.
So are they're coming back again to the next meeting? Are they going to
They said
present?
they would come back.
Yeah.
Because they should have, they truly believe they're going to have numbers for us. For me, I'm like skeptical of it, but if they believe it, I want to believe it. Are you kidding? Great. So they're going to come back with numbers for us. I hope that we'll have a conversation before that, but knowing the way this works, they may just be putting so much pressure on these companies to get those numbers like that morning. So you may be hearing it at the same time as I'm hearing it. But yes, I could have them come back. I think it's important. You really can't move much until you have that number.
The other scheduling challenge I'll just point out is that the fire commission's election is the 24th, and it's only for 2 hours. It's from 6 to 8, which will be right in the middle of our meeting. So I know probably some of us around the table want to be able to vote. So that's also some of the challenge. So I was, okay, Mrs. Russ has a question.
If they're not prepared to come back with an actual number, because they said the end of February, beginning of March, what do we do? Do we not have our meeting in February? Do we push it to March?
They told us the 24th. They told us by the 24th. We're the ones that are skeptical because that seems like a very quick turnaround for these insurance companies to evaluate our history and give us an estimate of what they think it would be. So I think we have to trust them at their word, and then if it's coming close, we'll have to keep it. We'll have to communicate that, Mr. Zabrowski.
I think they probably can turn that around pretty quickly because all they're going to do is take the numbers and plug it into a program, probably by Palo Alto, and that's just or Orton Gillingham, and then that's just going to spit out the assessment that they're going to make the decisions on.
So they will not have the state partnership plan number until March. So we'll have other estimates. But if the other estimates are better than where we are with our current 52%, it'll at least give us an ability to start making some other decisions around the budget, or at least getting closer to making some of those decisions. But I would like thoughts on what do we do about this scheduling mess we've gotten ourselves into, because we have not had policy committee now in several months. And I know we have, Dr. McLean, we have policies that need to be approved. We also had told at the Facilities and Asset Committee meeting that Steve and I attended that we would be having our Facilities and Technology Committee meeting on the 24th, and invited them if they wanted to come and be guests and listen, not participate, but listen. So we've made that commitment, and we have the election. So I am open to ideas on how we navigate all of us being in multiple places at once.
As far as the election, if we start at 6:15, I think it'll be fine. I mean, I've done that election and come here within like 10 minutes, so that goes pretty quick. But just as far as the start time, 6:15 might be the way to handle the election itself. But the other two meetings, could we do two meetings at once?
Mrs. Cantwell, what do you think?
Well, I guess my question is, how many? Don't we have some? Last time you said we couldn't do that because we had overlap.
I'm the only one that goes to
Okay.
both. I'll just walk back and forth.
And we can have it right here in the same room. We'll just
So
divide ourselves.
are you saying the regular board meeting wouldn't start till 7 then? And then
I think we start at 6:45 and give ourselves 30 minutes to do those two meetings. It also depends. I don't know how many policies we have to review. So if you could give us,
There's a million.
can you prioritize?
I wish I had better news.
Otherwise, we have to come up with a special meeting date.
Yeah.
Well, that's
or I
what-
mean, could we maybe do? Is 5 too early for everybody? Might be. Yeah.
Unless we just pick another night. Like, do we have like an hour's worth of policy? Yeah, we do. I mean, we could we could try and pick another night.
We could have a special night for policy. It doesn't necessarily have to be in.
Well, I just feel like we're trying to cram too much into one night.
Sorry again. I'm just thinking outside the box, and Catherine's going to yell at me, so I'm going to do this. Who's on policy? Lori, Donna, Catherine, and Jess.
And me.
And you. Is it outrageous for
Yes.
us to have maybe find a time that we could meet in the morning or during the day on a different day for a special meeting? I knew Catherine was going to say no, but
I'm sorry, it's not it.
you know what I mean? Like, just to try to figure it out. I would do whatever you guys wanted to do.
I think that's really hard. So I would suggest we look at other, I know this is another night out for you, but I think we looked at other evenings. So if we typically meet on Tuesdays, maybe we can just look at a different Tuesday night and have a hour-long meeting.
There are a million policies and we're ready to go with them. None of them are flagrantly urgent. So if we had to wait until March, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't, because then they would still all get through they would still all get through the process before the end of the school year, which is all that really needs to happen.
There's no legal or compliance issues that you're waiting on for us to approve.
No.
Okay, Mrs. Cantwell.
Sorry, I mean, if there's no urgency, we have very productive policy meetings. We get through a lot.
And this is the
So-
last bunch. So there's no legislative session that's going to come out that's going to give us more before the end of this school year. So this is what we have to deal with. I have a sense of urgency because I've got a pile this big that I want to get done, but that is in my head. That is not.
I have a sense of urgency because we live on policy, right? It used to be policy, and when we make decisions on those policies, and we're making decisions based on the policies that are in the packet right now. In the booklet right now. I want to make decisions based on the policies that we should be making those decisions.
But I don't think there's
it's
anything that's back.
right,
poli-
it's
like,
not
I don't
gonna
think
kill
it's-
us.
I think it's a forward policy. Like, I
Listen,
don't think we're back.
I
You're
have
saying there's no
PTSD from this-
substantive-
from
I
this
wanna
board.
look.
You guys didn't have. We
Before I
were
say
7 years
that, I
behind
wanna
when I
look.
got here.
Well, that's not going to happen again.
Okay, so I think we leave it at Dr. McLean. If there's something substantive where you feel like we are either out of compliance or at risk because there's something that we are holding up the approval process on, then I think we need to schedule a special meeting. Does that make sense,
Yeah,
Mrs. Campbell?
yeah.
Otherwise, I would say we can push our policy committee meeting to March. And then, Steve, I would agree with you if we can do a 6:15 start for facilities and technology for the February 24th, because we've already committed to holding that meeting, and we're in that process of going through developing what that group's going to look like and how we're going to inform that group. I think that would be a really important thing for us to have. And then can we keep that to 30 minutes and then start our meeting at 6:45 on the 24th to allow us even an extra 15 minutes of budget conversation?
Can you guys let us know what you want?
Would we be having those gentlemen start again, right, go first? So
I think we should invite them
Right at
first because it
6:45.
colors the entire
that's what
discussion.
I mean, yeah. So they
Yes.
would start at 6:45.
They'd probably start at 6:50 once we do our roll call and everything else,
Yeah.
but yes.
So 6:45 start for March 24th.
February 24th, I'll do it again. February 24th, Facilities and Technology, 6:15 to 6:45. Board of Ed meeting, 6:45 start. The beginning portion of the Board of Ed meeting is going to be the presentation from the Alera group about what they have for us on information on our potential renewal options. Then I think we get into budget conversation. So I'll ask everybody else, think about what was presented this evening. And I think we need to come to that meeting with some of our own thoughts about where we would like to see us head. And as you're doing that thinking, I think you need to think different scenarios. If we can't get it any lower than a 50% insurance renewal, what does that look like? If we get the 25%, which is currently what's presented, how do you feel about what's there? And are you comfortable with what's presented? Do you have additional thoughts on what should change? If we do phenomenally well and we get a 15% insurance renewal, I don't think that will happen. What would you like to see in the budget? This is, as Dr. Macri explained, this is the superintendent's proposed budget, but we have to create our own budget proposal that will go to Board of Finance. It's usually based off of what comes from the administration. Does that make sense? Does that work? Okay.
So are we having a real, so are we cutting the rest of the agenda for that evening? Or are we going to have a real board meeting? So are we going to have updates from students? Are we doing celebrations? Do you want all that? Or is that going to be cut for the next meeting as well?
I think just because this is such a difficult conversation and it will require so much time and attention, I think and I hate to do it because I love to celebrate our students, but I think for the February meeting, we should probably not do that and make it a focused meeting on budget conversation.
Got it. It has to be
Everybody
a
okay with that,
special-
Mrs. Russ?
Yeah. Does this make it a special
Yes.
meeting since we're changing the time? Does
Yes.
that mean, I thought special meetings meant we have no public comment. Is that correct?
No, we can have both. We can have them at both. We can, and we. You could decide if you guys don't want public comment. I personally, it's up to you. You're the board, but to me, if you have the budget on the agenda and the public wants to come, right? Me too. That's what I.
No, I wouldn't limit public comment, especially in a budget meeting. But Lisa, can you just describe to us what does it mean if it's a special meeting, if we change the time to 15 minutes earlier?
Yep, sorry. So all it means is that you cannot make any changes to the agenda. So what I send out, that's the agenda, that's it. We can't make any additions or like say, oh, can I add on, this presentation? You can't add anything or subtract. It has to be exactly what that.
We put a layer on.
Yes.
They have to present, but if they don't come, we could still have the meeting. There's nothing we could do in that.
Yeah. If they didn't have their information, we would just notate, or I would just notate it. Did not show for meeting, they will show at the March 10th meeting with their updated presentation.
So I would mirror the agenda we did tonight to allow us to have primarily conversation about what we want to see in the proposed budget that we're going to present, and even what the presentation should include so that we can think that through, including some of the comments that Dr. Macri made and suggestions about use of surplus funds from the past. We've really got to figure out what we want to do with that.
And we won't have the presentation for you that we're going to have to the Board of Finance probably until March 10 because we have so much work to do with this. Is that okay? That's fine. I'm not going to give it to you until then because things could change, and we need the time. Chris needs to sleep. We need the time.
Mr. Schumann.
Can we just have the students submit it in writing, their updates?
Oh, that would be nice.
Just to hear what's going on, we can read it, so they don't have to present it, just submit it.
Ms. Coach and Mr. Cockle, did you get that? Just that one. Okay.
And please tell them we're very sorry. And it isn't because we don't love their presentations. We absolutely love their presentations. We just want to spare them from sitting through lots of budget conversation and be respectful of their time. This kills me because I love the student presentations, and I love when we can celebrate our students and our staff. But I very much understand how late that would put us into the evening.
We will celebrate them when we give them a good budget and we get what they need.
That is true. That is true. Okay. Are we good? We have a plan now? All right. The topics for future agenda are included in your agenda. Comments, updates, announcements, anything from board members? Mr. Heisman? No? Mrs. Lamb?
Shout out to the indoor track team, both boys and girls, for winning Shorelines.
Mr. Zabrowski?
Yeah, just honestly, as probably I think the board member who may have submitted the most questions about this budget, my apologies, but B, my thanks. I really like to have a good understanding of what's going on, and you provided some really thorough answers, even if I didn't like them. But I do appreciate all the efforts that the team put in on answering all these questions. Thank you.
Mrs. Russ? Okay. I have nothing else. Mrs. Cantwell? Mr. Schumann?
Did we vote on the facilities? We didn't.
We vote on it?
No, the minutes.
Oh, the minutes.
The minutes, we didn't. We skipped over that.
Oh, good catch. Thank you.
Oh, no, you don't vote.
We don't vote.
No, that's just for informational purposes. At your next meeting, facilities, you'll vote on it. That's
Oh,
just
the
what I get-
facilities committee votes on it.
Yes.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you. Good thing Lisa's here to keep us organized. Thank God.
You're not kidding.
Okay. Ms. Maddie, any announcement?
Just want to say that I really thought this was, again, wherever it is, I've probably put it right here. Incredible amount of information. I appreciate it. And I also believe in as small classes as you can possibly get. And most teachers would probably say that was the number one thing they wanted. And it's so much more effective for students.
Thank you. Okay. May I please have a motion to adjourn? Oh, Mrs. Maddie.